Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another day. Not any day. It is, I think it's officially Starfield Day, right? Because, well, technically tomorrow would be Starfield Day because the night is the night that Starfield comes out, and we're going to be talking about Starfield a lot today because let's just lean into the hype, right? Let's just lean into and let's just discuss a couple things with the game. We're going to know in about 2 hours people are going to start playing it live in front of people, and there's also going to be documents, reviews leaked or not leaked, actually released at noon as well because the embargo lifts at noon as well. So on today's show, we're going to talk about Call of Duty. Is the first story. We're going to talk about Call of Duty. New AI chat moderator can tell hate speech from friendly banter, and then we're going to talk about Starfield. And then when noon comes, we're still going to be live, so we're going to talk about the reviews that start popping up. We're going to read some of the reviews on stream as well. But before that, we're going to go to this character builder planner that I posted up in the Starfield section of our Discord. If you're not part of our Discord, make sure you link your if you're a member, link your membership to our Discord. Anyone can join the Discord, but more rooms open up if you are a member of our channel. We're going to go over all the traits. So I'm going to help you out by showing you some of the traits that we have in here so you can start thinking, right? Thinking about what you want to be in Starfield. So that's what's on the show today. If you like what we do here, we do this Monday through Thursday. We read the news, and then we have a conversation with you, chat. And if it wasn't for chat, we wouldn't have this back and forth. So I do appreciate everyone coming in and hanging out with us when we do this stuff. This is not a debate. This is more of read the news, and you guys give your opinions. I give my opinions. It just so happens that I'm on camera and you're not. You have an advantage, I think, in some ways. So yeah, we're gonna go over the traits and maybe do a little build craft for the thing. Hit that like button down below. Helps us out. We're a very small channel. We're like a pimple on a pimple's ass. We are so small of a channel on YouTube, so I do appreciate you helping us out by hitting that like button. You can hit that subscribe button if you'd like to go above and beyond that. And if you'd like to be above and beyond that, you can become a member as little as $5. So let's get into the first story. Before I say the first story, let me see who's in chat. Got top chat. I hate when it goes to top chat. Let's see who's all here. Embu, Dustin, Makoki, Stealth, Tim, Travis, Water, thank you very much for showing up, hanging out with us this morning. Good morning. Wonder Rose, good morning. All right. Oh, Travis. Yeah, opinions are fine. We all have opinions, and we all have assholes. And all of us sometimes are assholes, okay? Opinions is fine. It's just that you come across sometimes as your opinion is fact. My opinions are not fact. We kind of use backup of the internet to look up stuff, right? So if I don't know something, I'm like, I think it's this, and then we look it up and go, oh, I'm mistaken or whatever. I don't give my opinion as fact. So I appreciate you working on it, right? I appreciate it. None of us are perfect. But you're always fun to talk to because the banter back and forth between me and you is good. Let's see. Makoki says, I have no doubt that Starfield will be anything less than incredible with a bit of Bethesda jank. How big is that jank, though? How big is that jank? Emily says, 10 hours to go. Travis says, I don't know if I'll ever get used to the VATS of 76. You don't really have to even use the VATS. If you saw me play the other night, I never used it once. Dustin says, I want to play early access today, but I'm enjoying the beautiful weather. Go on, Tim. Took me a minute, but honestly, ends up feeling pretty smooth, and it doesn't end up being too bad. Ambu says, I'm so excited, I can't hide it. It's like the kid who's like, I'm so excited. Yeah, a lot of people are excited. Sarge says, so when do the first haters, shills, play Starfield? 12 o'clock. Co-Carnage, Dr. Lupo, and a couple other people get to play at 12. Everybody else gets the rest of us humans, mortals, get to play it at 8 o'clock tonight, which I get to play it at 10:30 because we're doing the podcast tonight, Sarge. So, good morning, Dave Rose. Oh, this story. So many people about to get banned in Call of Duty game chat. Yeah, we're going to talk about this in just a second. I'm a PlayStation guy, but I also think Starfield will be a good game. Enjoy, everyone. Big Mo, good morning. Good morning. What's going on, boss? Why do those shitters get to play it before everybody else? Boss, is that what this was referred to? I didn't know what you were doing here, right? Is that what this is right here? Is that why you commented in Discord? I was like, why is he responding like that? I didn't understand the reference. I was like, why is he doing that? I was like, I think he's saying like, why do that? It's exactly what I thought you were saying there. Why do they get to play it early? That's the reason I thought you posted that. Okay, yeah. That's how I know. It's amazing I've never met you, right? But you've been speaking in our channel for so long in our Discord and whatnot. I feel like I understand your humor. I understand, when you're being sarcastic or a troll and whatnot. You know what I mean? All right. So let's go with this. Call of Duty new AI chat moderator can tell hate speech from friendly banter. Okay. This year, Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3 will make a ToxMod AI to help moderators voice chat in multiplayer. Activision has revealed the system won't detect offensive in real time, nor will it be able to kick you from games for effing and blending. Okay. It just submits reports and bad behavior, with Activision staff making the final call on enforcement actions, which might involve reviewing recordings to work on the context of an outburst. So you could turn off voice chat in Call of Duty to avoid being recorded, but it doesn't look like there was a way to opt out of the AI voice moderation in a current/new Call of Duty games at the time of writing this. The tech is being beta tested from today, 30th of August, into Modern Warfare 2 and Warzone in North America, with the English language worldwide release to land alongside Modern Warfare 3 on the 10th of November. Now, the Tox Mod Advanced AI Intuitivity understands the difference between friendly trash talk and truly harmful toxic behavior. Does it? It just sounds like again, I don't know how it works, right? But I'm assuming it works by, if someone says a curse word, it clicks it, and then it starts to record from that. It says, oh, he said one of those words that we have it marked, and then now it starts to record. So now if someone says something to it's like saying, Alexa, all right? I hate saying that because now people's devices just went off. But if someone says a key word, it makes it record. Once it records, then it gets reviewed, right? By an actual manual person, I would assume. So given that non-artificial intelligence, aka human beings, struggle with the distinction, I'm interested and a little fearful to see they're working. The tech doesn't just listen to our naughty keywords, but there you go. For assist, it's its tone, temper, emotion, and context of the conversation to determine the type of severity of toxic behavior. It wouldn't know. It wouldn't be able to understand if I was being sarcastic or not. I'll tell you that right off the bat, right? I could say, you're an effing, whatever to somebody, and I'm being playful, but it would think I'm being rude because of my voice and the way my tone is, because that's how I am, right? So this should be interesting. So in a release, Activision Chief Technology Officer Michael Vance described the introduction of the Tox mod to Call of Duty as a critical step forward to creating and maintaining a fun, fair, and welcoming experience for all players. The game already makes us use of text-based filtering for the game, in-game chat and usernames on top of the player's reporting systems. Now, the module was found in 2017. The clients, including VR Outfit games and Riot, have an ethic page, and in the address, a few of the more common criticisms directly at the AI, such as the likelihood of neutral algorithms, data sets passing the social bias, and also creators. The reliance on many large language models, on copyrighted info or info given within the express permission. It says, quote, "We consider it not only vital, for the businesses, but also responsibility to ensure that all of our machine learning systems are trained and representative to a broad set of different voices corresponding to range of age, gender, identity, race, body type, and more, unquote. It reads, quote, whenever possible, endeavor to utilize large public data sets, which already have been studied and represented through in some cases are required to gather your own reference speech. I'll tell you what, man. I don't like this. I totally understand that it's their game and they can say who can play and who can't play. But to listen in. Now, I understand we're on the internet. I'm like, anyone can listen to me, right? To silence me on what I'm saying or banning me for something or just literally recording me. If I was playing Call of Duty, I wouldn't be playing Call of Duty anymore. Okay? It's one thing to know that they're recording you. It's another thing that you can't prove that they're recording you. So, like, right now, everyone's recording. I'm like, fuck, I'm recording myself, right? But what I'm saying is if I'm playing a video game and I'm talking to someone and I'm having a conversation, like, I have a problem with Amazon doing the same thing with the box in your house, right? They can use that against you in a court of law. They can bring up files. People listen into your conversations in your house if you say certain things. That's a big brother stepping in to going too far, right? And I think that what this AI is doing and what Activision's doing, I think they're taking one step too far into this because I don't think they should be able to listen to your recordings of what you're saying, right? It doesn't really bother me or affect me in any way. One, I don't play Call of Duty. And if I did, we usually are in a private party chat anyway, right? I'm not talking shit to people into the lobbies because I have hair on my nuts, right? You know what I mean? I'm an adult. So only people that have no hair are the people that talk shit and stuff like that to the different extent. Okay? So when this in case, you've made a point to either hire a wide range of voice actors where acted speech is sufficient, or the work is out-trained data labeling team identify the sufficiency diverse test set. Now, the module claim of ToxMod system is designated to the test to ensure we are not more likely to flag certain demographics as harmful given the same behavior. That said, we do occasionally consider an individual's demographic when determining severity of the harm. For instance, if we detect pubescent speaker in chat, we might rate the certain kinds of offensive more severely due to the risk to the child. What about if the child is the one doing that? You know what I mean? Right? What about the child's the one? Because those are the ones that they say whatever they want because they don't actually know what the words that they're saying, right? So we also recognize that certain behaviors may be fundamentally different depending on the demographic and the participants. It goes on. While the N-word is typically considered a vile slur, many players who identify as black or brown have reclaimed it and use it positively within their communities. While the module does not detect or identify the ethnicity of the individual speaker, it will listen to the conversational cues to determine how others in the conversation are reacting to use of such term. So not only is the AI racist, but the person saying the thing would be racist, right? So think about this. I'm a white guy. My black friends are all playing the game with me. They're calling me the N-word, right? And then within that small community, I maybe say the word back to them because it's a friendly thing, right? Whatever. So the conversation would go, this guy's white and he's just said something to the black guy. And then it would flag you, right? That's pretty funny. Okay? Because how do you know what the relationship is between the people that are talking? Do you know what I mean? How would you know if they're buddy? What about if a black guy sounds like a white guy? Right? You see what I'm saying? So there's more information there that they're taking to know who you are. This is not just a profanity filter. This is going on beyond that now. Now it's literally racial profiling you and demographics of what you are. Right? There's also a privacy page detailing on what the voice data module gathers in order both to moderate chat and train. it's AI and how the data is stored. Okay, any thoughts on all this? I don't like this. I don't like this. Oh, for sure, Enfits, right? SOCOM built me who I am, right? I mean, I was a later teen. It's private information. Oh well. Welcome to the new world. Everyone is now listening to people's sneaking recordings. I say F you to this BS. Yeah, Jesse. I mean, I have a problem with them recording me. Like right now, obviously, I'm being recorded because I'm on YouTube voluntarily recording what I'm saying. Okay. But if I'm playing a game and we find out that they are recording you at a later date, you'd be like, what the hell, dude? But now you're voluntarily going, oh, I know they're recording me, and I'm still choosing to use their software. Like, you're being compliant, right? You're just compliancing to it. You're like, that's fine. I don't care. What am I going to say, right? But the software, based on what we just read, is literally telling you it's going to profile you. It's going to profile you based on your voice, based on the demographic you are. How does it know that, right? How does it know if a black guy is talking like a white guy, or a white guy talking like a black guy, or a black girl talking like a white girl, and a white girl talking, or you know what I'm saying? How is it going to know who it is? Where if someone drops the N-word, they're like, oh, it's okay, it's okay. These guys are not using it in a derogatory statement. What do you mean? Big T says, wait a minute, you can't say all the bad words to a minor while playing a game, which is what they all murdering people left and right, as long as they're protecting the youth. Cool, ridiculous. Right. You can murder anyone you want in the video game and scream at them, but you can't do it with kids. Private information is a privilege, not a right, apparently. Yeah. This is interesting. This is very interesting. New Switch, October 6th. Ooh, this year, huh? If I got this AI, that means they're going to be blocking the children in-game chat from playing, right? Since that's immediately against the rules, right? That's a good point, Tim. That's a good point, because if they know if it's a kid, right? Interesting. So does it protect girls more than guys? That's another interesting aspect of it. I'm just baffled by how it's going to. Let me read that part again, right? It'll also recognize that certain behaviors may fundamentally be different depending on the demographics of the participants. Well, how do they know the demographics of that participant? You see what I'm saying? It's got other data, because they know that you're paying microtransactions, so they know your credit card number, right? They know where you live. They'll know if you live in a dense city or a suburb of some place. They can assume who you are. It's very interesting. What if the guy who sounds like a girl, or a girl who sounds like a boy? That's what I'm saying. Like, how can you tell? Like, obviously, okay, for 80% of the population, and that's just a number I'm throwing out there, right? You could tell if it's a white guy, or a black dude, or a black girl, or a Mexican, or a Chinese guy, right? Sorry, an Asian. Okay, don't want to offend anybody, right? But how do you distinct that when someone sounds different? Like, my mind's blown, right? I saw a video of a Asian girl who speaks like a British dude. Have you ever seen that? Okay, like, if you close your eyes, you wouldn't know it was a girl. You would think it was a young British boy, right? Then you open your eyes and you're like, okay, my brain can't translate that. How is the AI going to know that? Right? Especially that now, right? It's very interesting to know. Okay, so it says, it goes on. While the N-word is typically considered vile slur, many players who identify as black or brown have reclaimed it and use it positively within their communities. While the module does not detect or identify the ethnicity of the individual speaker, it will listen to the controversial cues determined on how others are in the conversation or reacting to the use of such term. So I guess it's fine then to use it, right? As long as you sound polite using it and everybody around you says okay, then it's not a problem. Right? But if anyone says it, right? If anyone says it and someone goes, "Oh, that person's gone." Right? That person's gone. Who identify as black or brown? Yeah, found a loophole. This is interesting. AI, man. The technology and the patents that all these companies are filing and trying to do. I mean, I'm glad I don't play this, but who's to say that EA doesn't do this next, right? Who's to say they don't do this for other stuff? Why would you go into a public lobby anymore? Right? There was a stat, and I forget what it was. I think it was like 48%, and I could be quoting it wrong. 48% of women that play video games don't ever go in or talk in a game. Like almost half. It might be even bigger than 48%. Right? But I remember a stat saying that women don't even talk in groups because of as soon as you hear a girl's voice, everyone's like, oh, they're like hungry like wolves throwing a piece of meat into the thing, right? They're like, is that a girl that's playing? Hey, I love you. You want to marry me? It's like, put it away, right? Put it away. So most girls don't even speak. They just stay in a private chat or they don't talk at all. So it'd be very interesting to see how many more people now don't talk in a Call of Duty lobby because of this, and they go into a private room or don't talk at all. Big T says, can anyone smell the implemented dumpster fire? This is going to be a shit show. They're going to make your state, your preferred pronouns, gender, ethnic identity, religion before you enter the game chat every time. That would go next level, right? Like you're applying for a job now, Tim. Right? We all know computers are relatable. It's also humans factor that screws things up. The AI is programmed by idiots. That's true. I mean, if you want to be a tree, you can be a tree, Dupless. So if you use the wrong pronoun, I get banned. Well, no, you wouldn't. If you use the wrong pronoun, you wouldn't get banned. It would be if you use the wrong pronoun and then the way the person responds. That's the way it's saying it, right? Because it can't identify. It says, does not detect or identify the ethnicity of the individual speaker. It will listen to the controversial cues to determine how the others in the conversation are reacting to use of such terms. So if you happen to say something that could be offensive in some way, like you can say like, you're a noob. And they're like, oh, what do you mean I'm a noob? And they're like, oh, they're just picking on them. Or are they? Right? Does noob mean something else now? Like they would have to manually look into it and see what it is, right? They would have to see the cues based on the reaction of what was said. That's actual fair. My wife put my headset on one time and warned her that it was going to happen, and they heard her talk, and she didn't believe me. She hasn't done it since. That's what I'm saying, man. If they can smell a girl's voice, like, is that this is what happens when a girl talks. The identification of it is it a small little boy or is it a girl? Right? That's what they try to identify it as. And either way, they're going to say the exact same thing because they don't care if the little kid hears it and they don't care if it's a girl. They're just going to say the most absurd sexual thing possible. That's the internet. That's the internet. The chat isn't toxic. Tim, the human race is toxic. There's no consequences for the actions. Right. The only person I know that can get away with using the pronouns they, them is Venom. Right. Like I said, you're such a Destiny player. This is going to be an offensive to somebody. Right. Because they would have to review then they're going to have to hire a lot more people to do manual reviews. Right? And this happens with YouTube on a separate level, right? I had videos that have been up for months that all of a sudden got knocked down, and they weren't suitable for ads. And I was like, why? And they were mostly Diablo videos. I was like, what's happening here? So apparently some places found it offensive that I was playing Diablo. Never said anything in those clips. Never said anything in those clips whatsoever offensive in any way, shape, or form. But it was the blood that was happening on the screen. Well, I played for 4 hours, but they only clipped like 15 seconds of a certain part where there was more blood than others, right? And I was like, what's happening here, right? So I had to then submit manually to get a manual review, and then they brought it back down. But that takes manpower, right? So now you're going to do this for Call of Duty with voices. Then people are going to have to listen. They're going to have to make a choice. This just sounds bad. What's the difference of a mute button? Right? Someone says something vain or racist, just mute. Mute. They're doing all of this because they don't want to ban somebody or they don't want to offend somebody. They're doing all of this so they can feel like they're doing something and people feel safe, which is just kind of weird. Like, you don't need to change the remote control, right? The simplest remote control is just a finger, a thumb, and you change the channels. I don't want to wave at things to try to make you change the channel or say, change channel. I said, change channel. Change channel. Listen to me. Change channel. Like, I don't want the technology like that. I don't want technology like this. The simplest thing to do when someone's offends you, okay, is just to hit the mute button. It's just a thumb button away. Boom. What it is. You mute them, a button. Like, it makes no sense to me to go above and beyond all of this. But that's just my thoughts. I find Diablo 4 very offensive. How dare you? I have an Amazon Alexa and Google Home. They're listening. Oh, I know they are, Dupless. There's articles out there that say you have to opt out for them to not listen. By default, they listen, right? Obviously, this is listening, right? Are you listening to me? Are you listening? Okay. They're listening to us. But if it comes out that they're listening to us, we would be like appalled. We'd be like, what do you mean they're listening to us? And then you start thinking of your most intimate moments where you're talking to your wife or boyfriend or girlfriend or parents, right? And someone's listening. If they come out and say they're listening, you'd be like, what the hell? But if they don't tell you, now you know that Call of Duty is listening. It's only a select time for right now, right? Starting yesterday up until November 10th. Right? It's just a little weird. All the way up to the 1960s, feelings were denied in a place of objective reality, spawning generations of emotional stunned people. Nowadays, objective reality is denied to the same extent. Yeah, but the thing is, the saying that we've done this before, right? The saying of sticks and stones may break my bones, but names will never hurt you, right? That's how I grew up, right? People said stuff to us all the time growing up, and we're like, it's not a big deal, right? Maybe I just come from a different generation, which I know I do, right? But now people are offended. But nothing happens when you're offended. If I say something that offends you in any way, shape, or form, you don't know how I'm going to offend you, right? I can say I like brunettes, and the blonde people are like, what do you mean? Why don't you like me, right? Like, I could offend somebody. Nothing happens when you're offended. The only thing that happens is if you come out and say, well, I'm offended. Well, good for you. Congratulations. Let's move on, shall we? Like, nothing happens. That's an internal mechanism of us humans going, you know what? That hurts me, right? This is what comedy's built on, right? You get offended or you feel offended for somebody else and you laugh, and then there's uncomfortable laughter because there's stereotypes and there's certain things that happen, and this is why it's funny, right? So it's very strange for me. It's very strange for me that people are like, oh, I'm offended. I don't care. Deal with it yourself. Right? I was discussing toys for my son's birthday in 6 months, and then suddenly every ad I saw online were toys for 3-year-olds. Oh yeah. You got to watch what you say. Yeah, did you see that story though, boss? Did you see that story? Where the Indians, the culture canceled the Redskins to change them to the Commanders, but the Indians never complained. People got offended for the Indians, right? But they didn't know the history of why the Redskins were called the Redskins. It's ridiculous. Oh, for sure. I joke about it all the time with my wife. Anytime I have emotions or anything, you just take them and you just shove them down. Some people deal it with differently, right? Some people deal with the emotions and they build it up until they explode. And what that explode means in many different ways. Other people just, it's like like a void. That's how I am. All my emotions go in and then they just disappear, right? Because I think about the process of what's it called? You process it and then it just goes away. I just had a friend today. Call me after almost a year, I would say, almost a year. Okay. I went to Austin, Texas. I called him up before I went, like a month before, and said, "Hey, I'm going to visit in town. I would like to meet you." He never returned my call. He never returned my text. Right. So I was like, "All right, no big deal." He just called me and said, "I'm so sorry, that I didn't call you." Right. We didn't hang out. I thought, right, that he didn't want to talk because of the whole COVID thing, because there was a weird transition during that time, right? So I started making up stuff in my head that he was mad at me or whatever because, I thought one way, he thought the other type of thing. Doesn't matter. That's not what it was, right? That's not what it was. He called me. I was like, no, that wasn't it. I was like, all right, cool, right? But I put that away and just kind of let it go until I talked to him, right? You kind of just process things differently, right? I didn't want to jump the gun and be like, this is why he didn't, right? I assumed that's why he didn't want to talk to me, and I was wrong, right? I was wrong. Cleveland Indians had to change Guardians. Are they the Guardians? Who's the Generals? No, that's the basketball team. That's the basketball team, the Globetrotters. Stealth, you just take stuff and just kind of like put it in your black hole. That's how I am. I don't hold grudges. In my time, we all grew up. If you got offended, fuck you. Yeah, right. Exactly, boss. With all due respect, of course. Fuck you. With all due respect. Yeah. Are you talking about what the Native American group wants Washington to change it back to the Redskins? Yeah. The people that got offended that the Redskins were offensive to the Indian group, and the Indian group was like, no, we're okay. Put it back because the head coach of the Redskins back in the day is the reason they changed it to the Redskins in the first place. Right? We don't get mad, we get even. You're one of those people, boss, where if I flicked you, right? And let's say I hurt you, I flicked you, you would full out punch me and be like, "It's fair." Right? That's what you do. Right? I flicked you and you're like, "Oh." And you slug me. You're like, "It's fair. You hit me, I hit you." Right? I got you. It's exactly right. Just flicked you. Like, I just tapped you, dude. I didn't hit you hard. My arm is dead. I can't feel my arm now. Boys are so weird. Men are from, was it? Men are from Mars, women are from Venus. That saying is very true. Chapter 8. Revenge is. I like that saying. I've always liked that saying. It's like recently when we made the 7 dwarves, the 7 bandits. Not all Peter Dinklage said was I was offensive. but the rest of the community was pissed because, like, hey, we exist. That's okay. Yeah, and they can't get jobs now. Did you see the dwarf? I don't know what you call it. I don't want to offend them. I don't know if they're called dwarves or little people, right? But they were on like shows like talking about like I can't get work now because Peter Dinklage is working and he doesn't want to get offended for us. So he gets all the jobs and I don't get to work now. I was like, why do people do that? I remember, okay, so I had this guy named, I had a buddy named Rick, right? He was a black guy. And he was really, really black, right? Like Kenya, like really black, right? And we went to a comedy show and we sat in the front row. Okay, you know where this is going. I went to the comedy show and the comedian started just hitting us, right? He's like, look at this salt and pepper up here. He's like, I didn't even know you were sitting here. You know, I thought you were by yourself until your friend smiled, right? Like all of these jokes were coming out. A person next to us was like, you can't say that. And Rick was like, shut the F up. What are you are you getting offended for me? Right? The joke is to him. Why is the person next to him getting offended for him? You know what I mean? Like, sit down. Sit down. His nickname was Shadow. Right? Like, why do people get offended for other people? Let the people that you think are getting offended say something. They won't, because they're not offended. Exactly, Big T. Just let the person fend for themselves. Well, maybe they can't fend for themselves. We'll find out. Let's find out. Let's find out. Yeah, they want to perceive their morals to be yours. Yeah. All right. It's Starfield Day. We're moving over from that to Starfield. Hell of a transition, huh? Hell of a transition. We're gonna talk. Todd Howard put a memo out, internal memo. After that, we're gonna go into the traits and whatnot. Okay. It says the internal memo, Starfield director Todd Howard just shared across Microsoft, Xbox, and Bethesda. Okay. The early access launch of Starfield, discussion online about the game are heating up, and Starfield is amongst Microsoft's most important Xbox exclusives in recent years. I would say not in recent years. I would say this is probably the most important launch for Microsoft. I would. Not in recent years. I would say in, because even when Skyrim and stuff came out for Xbox, this is the biggest, right? This is the biggest launch, right? I would say that. Going back to like Halo days, Halo 1, Halo 2. Yeah, I think this is one of the biggest things. Okay. So behind the Elder Scrolls, Fallout 3, Fallout 4, and various other industries defying titles, lead by Bethesda's own Todd Howard, Starfield promises to be the studio's most expansive, most ambitious game to date, set in its very own of the Milky Way galaxy. Now, with hundreds of explorable star systems and planets, and potentially dozens upon dozens of hours of handcrafted content, Starfield promises to be another huge hit for the team. Now, Bethesda single-player games enjoyed a long-tail owning and passionate modding community and traditions for ongoing content. Now, Starfield and Bethesda first IP was almost 30 years ago, with a completely new universe and lore pinned by the world-class world builders at Bethesda. Now, the team was undergoing quite a lot of changes in the recent years. Microsoft acquired Bethesda back in 2021, and Starfield marks the first game launch under the unified Bethesda Xbox partnership, ahead of Starfield's early access launch on September 1st, 2023, and received the eternal note from game director Todd Howard, making the rounds with Xbox and Bethesda. So, it says, this is from Todd Howard. This is read in Todd Howard now, right? He says, I knocked on Robert Altman's door. Got a few minutes? I said, sure. It was early in 2013. We were developing Fallout 4, and Skyrim was still enjoying a numerous success, and was there a pitch of him for the next game. It would not be a sequel to our current games. He looked concerned, but a grand space RPG of our first new IP over in 25 years. He looks curious. It would delve into a creation, the search for our place in the universe. Slightly twinkle. Okay, you would explore galaxies in ways only video games can do, and it would be called Starfield. Miles. This sounds fantastic. Robert would then very first to believe in us, and no matter the situation, our path of creating Starfield would be a long and winding one, where he made other games along the way: Fallout 4, Skyrim SE, Fallout Shelter, Skyrim VR, Fallout 76, Skyrim again, Skyrim. The core development from 2020 to 2023 was enormous change in our lives: a global pandemic, Robert's passing, and becoming part of the Xbox. He says, it's incredible to be at the moment where Starfield is finally launching this week and only exists because everyone else believes as well. We've seen support for decades and by everyone in ZeniMax, and all doing the best work yet. Special thanks to our publishing teams who aim to create not just another release, but something that would also capture the minds of inspired gamers everywhere. And our partners in QA, who also had difficulty task of testing a game where anything can happen and will happen. And thanks to Jamie Leader, who are HR teams who supported everyone during the most challenging years and any of us have faced. And of course, is to Phil Spencer. His support for every game that we've ever played has been unwavering and fierce. Joining the Xbox brought us closer to so many we had worked with over the last 20 years. I can't imagine a better place to create games where diverse studios, creators, and games are allowed to flourish. The support came from the entire Xbox leadership team and all the areas of publishing and the dev support. Special thanks to the Magicians, ATG, for those spells, incantations, helped make our best performance game. Most importantly is the team I worked with at Bethesda Game Studios. It's an incredible blessing. It surrounds us by many talented and spiritual people every day. Moments like this make you reflect back. And some of us, even together in decades, some join in recently, but also everyone has the same passion. I could not be prouder of the continued dedication and create smiles true. Hey, lastly, a huge thanks to all the Xbox and Bethesda family. Your enthusiasm, your encouragement, and have meant for the world to us. Playing this game has been one of the most challenging, thrilling experiences of our career, a journey that we'll never forget. If it comes to the end of this chapter, it passes along to you. Each of you is receiving a game with early access and can begin playing this Friday, September 1st. But since one global time, you can actually play Thursday evening, thanks to New Zealand. Thanks, New Zealand. Appreciate you. We hope you get a chance to play, and your journey is rewarding as ours. So, as it continues, that's his statement. It says, Bethesda Softworks holds a special place in many gamers' hearts, owning experiences and creating studios across Xbox and PC since even before Morrowind days. Early Skyrim is one of the most purchased games of all time, and games like Fallout 4 still enjoyed healthy concurrent player base and Steam despite their age. I have hundreds of hours personally, the guy who writes the article says, across both franchises, and the expertise therein make up some of the most memorable and most cherished moments. The excitement surrounding Starfield has reached a fever pitch, right? This is the storm. The eye is about to hit the storm in the analogy of weather, right? So the Xbox higher quality action games, longtime fans enduring the long-awaited Elder Scrolls 6. I step away from penning my Starfield review to write this article quickly. And Todd's note has also made me reflect on 2023 in gaming and how incredible it has been for the new Xbox games and new PC games in general. Starfield will also be among the incredible titles. Starfield review embargo lifts at 12 o'clock, August 31st, and we'll go over some reviews in about an hour and 20 minutes. So the reason I read this is a game that's just like any other game releasing, but the amount of passion that's gone into this, if it's good or bad, we'll know in about an hour and a half. Okay, we'll know the embargo lifts, and people that are playing the game are going to tell you how good or how bad, how buggy, what their experience was. But I honestly don't think that matters. I don't think it matters at all. I think the reviews could tell you 100% that the game is trash. And the people that have bought into this game are going to enjoy the game regardless if the game is bad or not. Okay? This has nothing to do with Game Pass. This has everything to do with gamers trying to play a game that they could feel that they lose their mind in. And I don't say lose their mind like go crazy. I'm saying lose their mind like this is a game that will remove people from reality for whatever moment. If that's an hour, if that's 5 hours, if that's 10 hours, they will just lose their mind inside this game. Okay? It might not hit for you or hit for somebody else, but right now, this is the most popular game to release, I would say, for Xbox, not in the gaming industry, for Xbox in a really long time. Even I'm trying to think of another game. I'm trying to think of another game that came out that was as important. It had to be a Halo game. Water said Halo 2. It would have to be a Halo game, right? To be exclusive? Like, what other game it was at this fever pitch? Was there a game ever at this fever pitch where it was just on Xbox? I agree. As long as the game is mediocre, at worst, I think the game is a success. The hype is too huge for it. And as long as it's unfinished and the complete shit show, it'll still get a good launch. Yeah, I have to agree with that. And I'm not saying that the game is going to be a shit show. I'm saying even if it is a shit show, I still think it doesn't matter. Halo 1, they had a huge pre-party. Maybe Gears. Maybe Gears. I played Morrowind, Oblivion, Skyrim on console. I'm gonna enjoy Starfield. I can't think of one. Gears of War, maybe. That franchise got pretty huge. If I stick to Starfield is more. Yeah, I think this. I'm gonna go out and say I think this is the most. I think this is the most hype game that that Xbox has ever released. Because when other games were released, the gaming industry wasn't as big as it is now. Right? It wasn't as big as now. Here, I want to look up something real fast. How many? Let's see. Okay, let's see. Let's see. Okay, the launch was the most successful in video game history, with the unit sales surpassing 1 million after just 3 weeks and rising further to 1.5 million at the end of 2001. Okay, so just think about this for a second. The Xbox came out in 2001. Let's see, how many did they have in by the end of 2002? Okay, total sales 8 million. 8 million. Okay, it says here that the Xbox sales figures back on the original Xbox, 2.4 million in 2002. From January to June of 2002, 2.4, with 3.9 million total because it came out in 2001. So they had 3.9 million total by June of 2002. From July to December, it went up to 4.1 and a total of 8 million units sold. Okay. And by the end of June of 2003, which they sold another 1.4, they had 9.4 million total sales. And the console of the original Xbox. Now, we look at this number, right? And I know PlayStation is much bigger. I'm just saying the video game industry is gigantic now. But right now, there is 22 million that we know of Xbox users. Okay, 22 million Xbox users compared to 3 years in, right? 3 years in. They're 9.4 to 22, give or take a couple of months. Okay, let me see what this is. It came out in 2001. So here, we'll go 3 years in. So 15. So they have 15.5 million 15.5 at the same time frame. For 3 years when it came out to when it so here we are all these years later, and Xbox has more sales now than it did back in the original. Halo was very impressive back then, back in 2001, 2002. I mean, it was earth-shattering. Halo was a phenomenon. And I think that's where we're at now. I think we're at the exact same point where Starfield is that next Halo. I think this game is as important as what Halo was for the original Xbox, which is crazy to me because this is not even a first-party title. It is now, right? It is now. Hogwarts, but that wasn't really gamers so much as Harry Potter fans. Yeah, I'm talking about first-party titles, Chapter 8. Halo 2 launch was generally massive, though. Had people hunting in real-life phone booths. Halo was crazy back then. Mass Effect wasn't anything near the hype. No. Mass Effect, no. Potentially, you could sell, let's say they sell 5 million Starfield, right? When the game first launched, Halo only had 2 million units to sell on. You could triple that right now with a game technically you don't even have to pay for. and people bought it. Most hype game on Xbox history. Obi-Wan Kenobi on the original Xbox. Is that... Should I look that up? Should I look that up, Kyla? Let's see what the graphics look like for Obi-Wan. Let's look at it. Let's look at it. I gotta see it. This is it right here, right? This is it. This was it. I remember this. Good. This is good. This was the hype, huh? This was the pinnacle. Travis is saying opinions again over facts. Cover art back then was like movie posters, right? Sometimes the graphics on the box were so much better than what the game was. That's how Atari was. Atari had some great artwork on their games, and you put it in, it's just a pixel. Like it was like epic, like Star Wars type of pictures on the cover of Atari, and then it was just like a pixel just moving around. Halo 3 after Xbox 360 launch. Yeah, I could, but I guess our point fits is the only game compared to this would be Halo, right? Me and Sarge talked about it for a couple of months now, that they even said that Halo's not the franchise anymore. And they have Starfield on the boxes now, right? If you buy an Xbox now, Starfield is on the box. Like they're using that as the franchise, as the lead franchise. No, it's a fact that Mass Effect 2 is the best sci-fi game to date, according to many magazines. But Travis, you're comparing it to a game that's not even out yet. Do you understand your opinion? It might be a fact that Mass Effect is the most popular sci-fi game. But to say that Mass Effect 2 is better than Starfield when you haven't played Starfield is your opinion now stating as fact. You do see the difference, right? Right? Like if I'm typing up something, Mass Effect is the best sci-fi game ever. Fact. Right? And then you're like, Starfield's not going to be as good as Mass Effect. Fact. No, that's not fact yet. It's not fact. Big Mo says, I actually agree for now. Yeah. I don't know. Mass Effect Trilogy is the most favorite ever as of right now. But if Starfield delivers, absolutely. Absolutely. I'm on record saying Mass Effect 2 is my favorite game of all time. It's like right up there, right? It's amazing. Like Red Dead Redemption 2 is up there now, right? But Mass Effect 2 is like my favorite game. It's amazing. But I'm not going to say Mass Effect is the best game ever created ever, because that's not true. It is for me though. He talks in absolutes. He's a Sith. I gotta post that. Damn. All right. Let's go to this now. I don't want to... This is a spoiler, but not a spoiler, right? It's more of a helpful thing here, okay? We're going to look at the character builder planner / calculator for Starfield. And the only reason I'm doing this, okay? So if you guys don't want to be here for this because you don't want to be ruined what the stats are or what the cards are, I understand 100%. But because Starfield's coming out tonight at 8 o'clock and I won't be able to do it, I want to kind of read over and kind of, like we're sitting down for like D&D right now, right? And you're looking at your stats and what you want to be, like what type of character you want to be. So I'm going to go over each of the backgrounds for Starfield. If you guys like that, you could do headcanon with me, right? I'm gonna read these, and you could be like, "Oh, I'm gonna go for that. I'm gonna go for that." Okay, so that's what we're doing right now. Okay, so let's do the first one here. Now, this is file not found. We don't know what this is, but I'm gonna read the thing. It says, "Oddly, there's no information on the file about your past life. Political oversight, deletion by some powerful unknown faction, or was just nothing of note to mention. Whether the reason of the past is known only to you, what's important here, and now the path you're about to forge." Okay, and then there you have wellness, ballistic, and plotting. So in this whatever this one's called, we don't know what the name of this is. Okay, it says increase your max health by 10%. Ballistic weapons do 10% more damage. And plotting is you can now utilize ship thrusters. Okay. Okay. The next one is Beast Hunter. From Ashata to Aquila, the terramorphs have plagued the whole of the settled systems. Hostile alien life abounds, and you've learned the skill to track them, find them, and take them down. You have fitness. You have a 10% more oxygen available. Ballistic weapons do 10% more damage. And gastronomy, you can craft specialty food and drinks and research additional recipes at the research lab. Beast Hunter. Beast Hunter. Who's going to go towards Beast Hunter? Anybody? Anybody interested in Beast Hunter? Anyone doing Beast Hunter? Yeah, we're gonna play tonight, boss. But we're doing the podcast first, 8 to 10, and then I'm gonna go right into our stream. And basically tonight, I don't know how much gameplay is gonna be because we're literally building our character. So this is why I'm doing what I'm doing now is read these, see what I want. So when I make my character, make the face and stuff like that, I'll know what traits and stuff I'm leaning towards. Okay, we got Bouncer. Bouncer. You worked the line of the toughest clubs in the settled systems back then. You learned the most non-lethal confrontations, and you can also solve one or two ways of strong right hook or more strongly secured door. You get Boxing. Unarmed attacks do 25% more damage, 25% less to O2 used when using a power attack. Okay. Security, you can attempt to hack advanced locks, and 2 auto attempts can be banked. And fitness, you have 10% more oxygen available. Okay. Then you got Bounty Hunter. I think I'm going to go towards bounty hunting. Okay. Because my guy, Jack Burton, I feel like I'm going to be a bounty hunter. He's living on the edge, doesn't know he's getting his next paycheck from, kind of living on the edge, you know what I mean, type of thing. So we're definitely going bounty hunter. So wherever there are wanted individuals, there are also who profit from those that capture. And the Quarry of Knowns is a vastness of space and can run, but they can't hide. Piloting, you now utilize ship thrusters. Target control systems, unlock ship targeting functionality. And boost pack training, you now have utilized boost packs. Make the character before the podcast? I can't. I can't access until 8 o'clock. I can't. It literally launches at 8 o'clock when we do the podcast, Sarge. Next one is Chef. While it's unrefined masses scarf down chunks by the shipload, you cater to those who have more. A distinct palate or decreased palate. In your kitchen, countless alien species become true culinary masterpieces. Gastronomy. You can also craft specialty food and drinks and research additional recipes at the research lab. Sometimes there's words. Since I had COVID, and this is not an excuse, there's some words I can't say. Gastronomy. Is that how you say it? Like astronomy. Gastronomy. There you go. Thank you. Gastronomy. Dueling. Melee weapons do 25% more damage, take 10% less damage while wielding a melee weapon. Take it from me. Don't be embarrassed by something you can't do. Ask for help. Okay? Scavenging. There's a chance that you'll also find extra credits when searching containers. That's interesting as well. If you're looking, oh, I can see that, Mo. This is the one you're going for. You're going to be a chef inside the game itself. You got combat medic. Leave the human beings to fight over something as an infinite in outer space. That's where you come in. You've never been afraid to take out the enemy, but you're much rather take care of your friends. You have pistol certification. Pistols do 10% more damage. You got medicine, med packs, trauma packs, emergency kits, restore 10%, additional health, and 10% faster. And wellness, increase your maximum health by 10%. Interesting. Next, we got Cyber Runner. From Neon to New Atlantis, the Megacorp stands monuments of power, prestige, and profit. You've worked both for and against them, and inside and out, and often sacrificing conscience of coincidence for credits. Add Stealth Meter. You're 25% more difficult to detect when sneaking surpass weapons. Do an additional 5% sneak attack damage. Security. You can attempt to hack advanced locks, and 2 auto attempts can be banked. And Thief. Unlock the ability to pickpocket targets. That might be a good trait. That I might make my own, because I think I want to do Bounty Hunter, but I think I want to bring this Thief one in. I think I might bring this Thief one in and put it in place of maybe the booster pack. Cybernetics. Robots, mere toys. Neuroamps. Good for paler. God, my brain is shit. Collie War may also have implements of upgrading available to veterans, but you once saw a greater future of humans and machines as one. So here you have medicine, med packs, trauma packs. So we already read that. You get the 10% additional health and 10% faster. Security, get attempt to hack, which is the 2 auto attempts. And lasers. Ooh, that's the first time we saw lasers. Laser weapons do 10% more damage. Cybernetics. Diplomat. Wars are over. Peace is now reign in settled systems, but only if there's quietly fighting to keep it. Because of the agreements we signed, words were heeded and lives were spared. So, persuasion, 10% increase. Commerce, buy 5% less and sell more for 10% more. That's also a good one for a bounty hunter, right? I wonder if that buy 5% less and sell for 10% more. But that wouldn't help. That wouldn't help. I was thinking of like getting missions and getting 5%, but it's 5% less when you buy something. It wouldn't work there. Ooh, Explorer. They say exploration is a lost art. You didn't listen, as a major faction argued over the space and desperately tried to control you. And you're busy uncovering the wonders of the settled systems. You got lasers that do 10% more damage. Increased gravity jump range of jump drives by 15%. And surveying adds an optional zoom to hand scan and scan distance to increase to 20 meters. Interesting. Explorer sounds like a good one too. Gangsta. You were always distinct by suckers killing themselves to make an honest wage. As soon as you were old enough to hold a weapon, you took what you wanted from anyone unlucky enough to have it. Now, are you allowed to pick more than one trait, or is it only one trait? Shotguns do 10% more damage. Unarmed attacks do 25% more damage, 25% less O2, and unlock the ability to pickpocket targets. The gangster bounty hunter right now is what I'm leaning towards. Oh, is that what it is? So this up here, the file not found, is that what it is? Is pick your own? Got it. So do I want to go with 3 traits for my John Wick, or do I give me 1 or 2 useful traits that aren't really my build? Man, once on later. I thought it was 3. So you can pick 3 of these, right? So I can pick Bounty Hunter, Gangster. Okay. Homesteader. Discover the settled systems. Many oxygen-rich planets and moons meant humans could live just by anywhere. It's also known how you did utilize a great effect. Geology, get more common and uncommon inorganic resources from surface objects. You got the survey thing going on, and you got weightlifting. Increased total carry capacity. You know, I'm a goddamn hoarder. I know I'm going to be overcome at some point. I'm probably going to have that. What's going on, Silent Warrior? Industrialist. There was one time when you all wanted to do as Titan of the industry, maybe a ship designer or megacorp exec. Thankfully, there's a skill set never goes out of style and settled systems. Persuasion 10%. Security, get the 2 advanced with the 2 lockpick attempts. And research methods. Resources required to craft items and complete research projects and reduced by 10%. Okay, I think I found it. So far, we got long hauler here. I haven't read it yet. But if I'm a bounty hunter gangster long hauler, that sounds like Jack Burton, right? That sounds like a Jack Burton character. Because he's a truck driver, right? I'm a hauler, baby, right? Pork Chop Express coming in. The USS Pork Chop. Chris says, damn it, I was wrong again. Forget what I said. The 3 traits you pick later are different things. Gotcha. All right, it's all good. Long hauler. So let those hothead pilots obsess over laser weapons and manipulate maneuverability. You're a space trucker, pure and simple. I gotta pick the long hauler. I gotta pick long hauler. This is a must right here. Okay, pure and simple. Packing cargo. Get there fast. Get paid. Repeat. Life is simple and good. I mean, that's it, right? That is Jack Burton. Long hauler. Increase the total carry capacity by So there you go. Weightlifting. Okay. You can now utilize ship thrusters. Ballistic ship weapons have 10% increase. I mean, that's it. Right, Big T? Jack Burton is the hauler. That's what it is. We're set. Pilgrim. Wayfarer, wanderer, seeker. Transcendent. You also been called many things during your travels and learned something those others that could never understand. The journey is the destination. You got scavenging. There's a chance you'll find extra credits when searching containers. You got the surveying for 20 extra meters. You got the word I can't pronounce. Gastronomy. You can craft especially for food, drinks, and research for additional. I think there might be. I don't know. Professor, you've always enjoyed learning, but nothing could compare to the joy of teaching others of the humankind spread throughout the stars. There's also never lack of knowledge obtained, and also you gladly assist. So increase the gravity jump. You got get the common, uncommon, inorganic resources and research methods, which get you reduced by 10%. Got the Ronin. Masterless, unbound, and wander to the settled systems as a blade to hire. I think this is you, Chapter 8. This is the John Wick right here. I think this is it. Okay. To others as a hero, and you select a few a nightmare that you could also never wake from. Dueling melee weapons, 25% more damage. Okay. Take 10% less damage while wielding a melee weapon. Adds a stealth meter. You're 25% more difficult to detect when sneaking surpass. That doesn't really sound like a... Maybe not a Ronin. Maybe not a Ronin. And then the scavenging, extra credits when searching containers. You got a sculptor. Your knowledge of anatomy and skilled, steady hands. You also have become a surgeon. Then you follow your heart and create works of art and amaze and inspire. You get medicine, which is med packs, trauma packs. You get geology. You get persuasion. I think persuasion's what you're thinking of, Big T. I think persuasion is the charisma type of thing. You got soldier here. The settled systems is no stronger than Wayfare or Warfare. Jeez. And there's also one thing aimed conflict relies on trained warriors with guns and guts. I think soldier might be it. You had both simple bloody work, and you are great at it. I think you would do soldier with the fists. You know. I think that's what you might. Space Scoundrel. Oh man, there's so many. This is the Han Solo character. Could be a Jack Burton. Could be Jack Burton. Space Scoundrel, good, bad. Who's right is this is to say, if there's anything you've learned, there's through the galaxy is space may look black, but it's really one shade of gray. Get pistol, do 10% more damage. You can now utilize ship thrusters and 10% increase the chances to succeed when persuading someone. Space Scoundrel / truck long hauler. This is gonna be rough. This is gonna be tough. Stay on the road so I don't lose time wandering through the blocked path. It took 21 minutes. What is this now, Sarge? Okay, bro. I ran from Riften. Oh, in Skyrim. I didn't lose time wandering through block paths. It took 21 minutes. Yeah, I had a conversation about this, Sarge, the other day. Every time your ship lands in Starfield, it's the size of Skyrim's map. Every time. It's 16 square miles. So if your ship is center point, and there's one p minutes in any direction, which is 20 minutes across, that's the entire Skyrim map each load. Yeah, every time. Yeah, I said that the other day when we were playing Fallout 76. Yeah, because the biggest map I believe is Fallout 4. I think it's 30 by 30, if I'm not mistaken. I have a document. Hold on. Let me open this document up. I wrote it down. I put it in a Google Doc so I can. Yeah. So Fallout 3's world map was 17 by 17 square miles at 289 square miles. Fallout New Vegas was 19 by 19 square miles. Fallout 4 was a 30 by 30 square miles. 900 square miles. Skyrim is 15 square miles. Okay. So it was hinted during a showcase mentioning that the 16 by 16 squares generated around the player's landing zone. So it's less than Fallout 3, more than Skyrim. Yeah, but now think about that, Sarge. Every time you land. So if you, and there's only 4 blocks that you can make per on the planet before the first one gets deleted. So if I go here, and here, there's 4 blocks the size of Skyrim each time you land. That's plenty, man. That's plenty. Did we read Space Scoundrel? Yeah, we did. Xenobiologist. The settled system is home to untold alien species, and while none of them have yet to prove sentient, there's also deterred you. So you sought out to study them and whatever gifts they offer. Laser weapons do 10% damage. You survey and their fitness. Okay, is this all of them? This is all the stuff? Where is the one? Oh, these are not the traits, though. Okay, hold on one second. Okay, so you can actually go around. You can start picking your stuff. Okay, let's see. Physical. All right, here's some of the things that we can have here. Boo says, "Can someone help me out here and confirm whether or not it's one of the 3 backgrounds you can pick? My brain is screaming at me, saying 1. Someone prove it wrong, please." What do you mean for the background for the? You're talking about what we're doing here, like this part right here. Hold on, how do I go back? Yeah, backgrounds. I think it's just 1. So if like I pick. If I pick long hauler, it's long hauler. That's it. Background is long hauler. Okay. So this is what it's broken down to. I have 2 things in tech. Okay. And as I go up skill points, you can add stuff. Right? So obviously I need social. So we're gonna need we're gonna need manipulate commands. No, where's the one we're looking for? Persuasion, right? Oh, how do I reset that? Oh, screw it. We'll just leave it at that. Right? So this is the way it's gonna work. Yeah, 3 traits, right? And then you add to it. Okay, you add to it. So I need persuasion. I'm gonna need some physical stuff here. I don't think we need any science, right? Combat, we definitely need. Do I go pistols? Do I do pistols? I think I think I do pistols, right? Hauler, Jack Burton. I think we do pistols, right? Increase the critical hit chance with non-automatic ranged weapons. Reload ballistic weapons 30% faster. Shooting without aiming. Marks up one enemy within 25. Yeah, I think I would do targeting. He's not really a good shot, though. I'll be honest. Right? He's not a good shot. He's basing all my thing off of Big Trouble in Little China. We'll go with that. Okay. Targeting, and then we need melee. Where's his fists? Got fists here? That's rifles, throwing, heavy melee, weapons, team. Would it not be combat? I feel like I'm missing one here. Oh, it'd be physical. Physical. Boxing. We do this, right? Do some boxing. We do a martial arts thing. What does that mean? What does this mean? With the 6 there. What does this mean? 6 and 7. What is that? These like specialties? I don't have enough skills. Is that what that means? Yeah, but then I give him a luck. Let's see. Outpost manage. You can also force the diplomatic intimidation. You could force a target NPC at below to your level to flee for a limited time. That sounds like something I could use, right? Maybe do like one of those. Denotes the level you're assumed to be since you added 6 additional skills. Right, I'm level 9 though. Oh, I see, because this is up here. I gotcha. Yeah. Tech would be energy system, payloads. Yeah, we probably have to do a payload type of thing. Where would luck be? Science? Your luck meter? Is there a luck? There's always luck in these games, isn't there? Health, surface, jump. Wouldn't that be... Oh, choose traits. Oh, these are different. These are the traits. All right, you got space. Your body has become acclimated to space. Health and oxygen are increased when space decrease when the surface incomplete with terra firm. Okay. You've never acclimated to space. Health or oxygen increase when the surface, but decrease when you're in space. Extrovert. You're a people person. Yourself use less oxygen when adventuring with human companions, but more when adventuring alone. Interesting. Introvert. You really need your alone time. See, I would definitely be extrovert. Alien DNA. You voluntarily and controversial, experimental, and combines alien and human DNA. As a result, you start with increased health and oxygen. Killing food items. Yeah, that's not us. Dream home. You own a luxurious... No, that's not us. I'll read it, but that's not us. You own a luxurious, customizable house and peaceful planet. Unfortunately, it comes with a 125,000 credit mortgage with Gal Bank that has to be paid weekly. Empathy. You're deeply connected to the feelings of others. Performing actions in your companion likes would result in temporary increase in combat effectiveness, but performing actions they don't like, we have the persist opposite effect. You got hero worshipped. You've earned the attention of annoying, adoring fan who will show up randomly and jabber at you. Okay, and on the plus side, he'll join your ship crew and give you gifts. Okay. Kid stuff. Your parents are alive and well, and you can visit them in your home, but you're also automatically sent 2% of your credit home to them every week. You're paying for your parents. Taskmaster. Occasionally, if you have a crew trained in certain ship systems, that the system automatically repairs itself in full health whenever it is damaged below 50%. However, all crew cost twice as much to hire. Jesus. Okay, wanted. Someone put a price on your head, and words have spread. Occasionally, armed mercenaries will show up and try to kill you. But being concerned gives you the edge. When the health is low, you do extra damage. That sounds like one I would actually do. Freestar Collective Settler. You gain access to special Freestar Collective dialogue options and better reward from some missions given by factions. But crime bounty hunters towards the faction is greatly increased. Incompatible with Neon Street Rat, United Colonies Native. Okay, so these are all, you can only pick one of these. Neon Street Rat. You grew up in the mean streets of Neon. You gain access to special dialogue options and better rewards from some missions in Neon Crime. Bounties also faction is greatly increased. Incompatible with Freestar Collective and also United Collective. And United Collective, or Colonies, United Colonies Native, you gain access to special United Colonies dialogue options and better rewards from some missions given by the faction. I think I might have to go with the Freestar Collective. Jack Burton wouldn't be part of the United Colonies. It would be either Freestar Collective or Neon Street Rat. Let's see. Raised Enlightened. You grew up as a member of the Enlightened. You gain access to the special chest full of items in the House of Enlightened. Raised Universal. You grew up as a member of the Sanctum. You gain access to special chests of them. And then the Serpentine. So this is like your religion part. All right, so let's choose 3. We're going to do... extrovert. I might do Taskmaster and Wanted. I think that's the 3 we're going with. I think that's what we'll do. Right? I think Jack Burton would work better with people, right? When adventuring with other humans. Occasionally, you have a crew train in certain ship systems because we're going to be a hauler. You definitely need that. And then Wanted, someone put a price on your head. I think as a hauler, I think that's what we'll do, right? I think that's pretty good. I'm not sure where the luck thing would be. I don't remember seeing a luck. think I have to go more into tech stuff here. Science. You can go up as much as you want, right? Like there's no boundaries. Yeah, that's what I'm feeling. Right? I think Jack is definitely, you know, he likes people, right? He's a bullshitter. No, it's not a looter, but usually a luck thing would be like if you talk to someone with persuasion, maybe you have a more of a roll of a dice type of thing where it goes higher, but I guess that's persuasion. I think luck actually got put into other aspects in that thing. You might be right, Rose. Yeah, I think basically this is what we're doing. Leadership gains affinity 5% for faster. Additional cargo links can be placed at an outpost. We might put up that. Slightly increase a chance to recover from that. Slightly increase a chance to recover from injuries. Slowly regenerate health. 10% chance of NPCs. Stun an NPC with an unarmed attack. That might be one that we do. So we're definitely gonna go up the path. I don't know how the game starts. You know what I mean? So I don't know what I want to put it towards. So I think that's a good thing, though. What do you guys think? So the reason we're doing this now is so we don't have to do it later. So once we make it, we'll take our time making Jack Burton look like Jack Burton, and then the traits and stuff. You guys think these 3 traits are good for Jack Burton? You're a people person. Exerting yourself uses less oxygen when adventuring with humans and companions, but more when adventuring alone. Okay, so I need to get a companion. Taskmaster. Occasionally, if you have a crew trained in certain ship systems, which goes along if on the actual ship, okay, automatically repair itself, but it also costs 50% more because the crew also wants. They're a bunch of assholes that want more money, right? Right, and then wanted, someone put a price on your head because I don't think we don't need to, or we don't need these people, right? We don't need our parents. We don't need a dream home. I don't think we could go empathy. You're deeply connected to feelings of others. Performing actions companions likes will result in temporary increase in combat effectiveness. But performing actions they don't like will have a perceived opposite effect. That might be another one. Because Jack Burton wouldn't join a group, I don't feel. And obviously I don't think he would also join a religion either. All right, boss. Have a good one, man. Not sure about the extrovert. What would you put in that place though? Would you do space? Would I use space instead? Your body has become acclimated to space. They want to actually get paid. Fucking bullshit. I mean, I think the people he would run around with though in space, you know what I mean? The Taskmaster, I think fits, right? I'm a hauler. I want to be a captain of the ship, and then I'm going to pay people more. The problem with the last one is Jack does what he wants. He wouldn't necessarily change due to his company. Right. But that's what I'm saying. I don't think This one, someone put a price on his head for wanted. You don't think that would be a good trait? If he considered space as the road, his highway, then yeah, I think space suits him. Well, that's what it would be, right? He's a trucker. And space is the road, and the plants are the destinations, right? Or the outposts where he's going. Yeah, wanted is definitely. Taskmaster, I think we could swap out and for something else, but I kind of like having, because I want to be a captain to other people on the ship. And they're going to be degenerate people that are just looking for money, right? We get automatic repairs. That's a big one. The companion one where they judge his actions, that's not him. Oh, are you saying for the extrovert? Which one judges the actions? I don't think we picked that one, did we? Oh, that's empathy. Empathy. Or hero worship. That's the hero worship. Introvert. Introvert. Yeah. Yeah, I don't think the empathy. Now, can you change these traits down the road, or these traits are stuck with your guy the entire time? I think it's either space, taskmaster, and wanted, or it's extrovert, taskmaster, and wanted. I think these two are locked. I think these two sound good. Pretty sure you can change later. I think they've said that you can get rid of any trait. Just have to figure it out how. Okay. You think they're stuck, but I could be wrong. All right, so what do you guys think? Do you guys think I should go extrovert or space? Space, it says your body has become acclimated to space. Health and oxygen are increased when in space, but decrease when on the surface. Or do I do terra firma, which is you've never acclimated to space. Health and oxygen are increased when you're in on the surface, but decreased when you're in space. Need to do a poll? All right, let's do a poll. Do a poll. Start poll. Okay, we got spaced. We got revert. Got terra firma. And then we got, that's it, right? Just those three? Space, extrovert, or terra firma. Tough call. Space trait makes me think that the game will have a decent amount of combat in space with docked ships or something. Right? That's why I was thinking, Big T. If I'm hauling stuff, I'm going to be out in space more than on the planet. But we don't know how that's going to work yet, right? Not too familiar with Jack Burton as a character, but based on he's a trucker and space is the highway, you definitely would acclimate to space. Chapter 8 says, I feel like with those, I could eventually increase your health and oxygen, though. That the decrease wouldn't matter much. Low levels, it sucked. But worth the extra health. I think he's more an introvert, as he uses to trucking and moving on, never staying in one spot. Very true. I didn't even put introvert, did I? No, I forgot the introvert. I forgot I fucked up the poll. We're gonna end the poll. We're gonna end the poll and we're gonna redo a poll. I forgot to put introvert. I thought there was 4 and I forgot to put it. Then terra firma. All right. Another poll. Different poll. Same poll, different poll. Stop the count. We're recounting. We're doing the recount. Maybe we take space because of the truck. Then we do introvert, and then we do wanted. Because taskmaster, you have to have a crew first, right? Yeah, no, they're starting at 8 p.m. tonight, Dupless. Yeah, but the crew costs double. I would assume though the people that Jack Burton would hang out with to get on his crew would be people like, well, if you want, you would pay me to do my job, the type of thing. I don't know. Those 3, right? Space, introvert, and wanted. Yeah, I think we have a winner there. I think we have a winner. We'll leave that up for other people to vote for a bit. I think he would, right? Why wouldn't he, Akuta Papa? Why wouldn't he? I don't know if I'm gonna put the lipstick on. Big T. I don't think there's anything in science I would ever use. Increased gravity jump range jump 15%. You get more common, uncommon resources. Maybe that. Resource required to craft item and complete research project and reduced by 10%. Adds an optional zoom and hand scanner and scans distance and increase 20 meters. Get more common and uncommon organic resources from plants. Maybe this. That's not really a big. Check uncommon inorganic resources. Craft important spacesuit, helmet, and pack mods, and research additional mods at Research Lab. Maybe this. You can also craft improved weapon mods and weapon workbench, and research additional weapon mods at Research Lab. Maybe these 2. You can scan moons of your current planet. You have a 10% chance to discover a trait when scanning. You can scan the moons of your current planet. You have a 10% chance of discovering a trait scanning. So is that a confirmed of how you can change one of your traits? You could research experimental projects as a research lab. You can build outposts on planets to extreme temperatures. Ship reactors produce 1 extra unit of power. I can maybe do that. That Fire control, unlock ship target functionality. That might be good for a trucker. You know, obviously in a Earth truck, he's not shooting anything, but I don't know that you can change them. But if you can get rid of one, I can kill the fan or find the kill the bounty hunter or bounty holder. Direct didn't say take the hero worshipping guy to the top of the hill and get rid of him. Remove that trait. Right, or he could come back. Maybe you can't get rid of him. Maybe they're just teasing you for that. Discovering his luck. That might be him. 10% chance is luck. 10% chance of luck for what thing? What you talk about inside the science, Sarge? Oh, you're saying for astrophysics? With 10% chance? Thank God for this. It drives by 15. Weapons do 10% more damage. Weapons do 3%. Laser weapons, melee, ballistic weapons do 10% more. Pistols do more for there. I want to see what happens when they're the 10% discovering trait. Yeah, so this one, you're talking about this one. So if you 20%, 30%. Oh wow, if you level it up, it goes up to 50% chance to discover trait. Ballistic ship weapons do 50% more damage. Piloting. Pilot class C ships. Oh, nice. You can now utilize ship thrusters. Increase ship turning rate, movability. Class B, Class C. Oh, so you could drive bigger ships. That's cool. Unlock a ship target functionality. Time to lock onto enemy ships is reduced by 15. Target lock ships fire at once at your 25% slower. Time to lock onto enemy ships is reduced by 30%. You can also have 10% increased chance of critical hitting. And then time to lock onto an enemy ship is now 60%. Payloads is 10%, 20%, 30%, 50%. All right. Now we go. So this is, let me see what the max is here. Unarmed attacks do 100% more damage and have a chance to knock down opponents. That's the fists. Increase total carrying capacity by 100 kilograms. Gain 50% more resistance to stagger. Martial arts goes up. 15% chance to disarm opponents with the melee and unarmed power attack. While unarmed is more wielding and melee weapons take 10% less damage. Reflect 50% damage back when blocking in melee or unarmed attack. 10% chance to stun NPCs. Unarmed attacks now do additional EM damage. 20% chance to stun an NPC with unarmed attack. Then after stunning an enemy, you also knock down any enemy within close range. I'm starting to get excited about this. 50% increased chance of success. Okay, persuading someone. You can now force a target. You can now force a target NPC up to 10 levels higher, 20 levels higher. Immediate targets now flee for substantial amounts of time. Okay, but intimidation there. Increase the accuracy of the range when shooting without aiming. Marks up to one enemy within 25. Notably increase the accuracy range within shooting without aiming. Marks up to 2 enemies within 50 meters. 75. Three enemies within 75. And then 4 enemies within 100 meters. Cool. So it's close right now. Introvert and space are at 36%. Yeah, I don't know though. I'm gonna put some guns in just a little bit when we first start because I definitely don't want to be straight up brawler. I know Jack would do that, but I also think that because he's a trucker, he would have a piece on his side. You know what I mean? I don't have to level it up all the way. I mean, and obviously, I mean, look at it. I have to be level 54. Oh, you could also do this. Right? If I'm a hauler, long hauler. Long hauler. Oh, right. These are... Never mind. I see it. Weightlifting, piloting, and ballistic. Do I not have ship thrusters? Where is this? This is ballistic weapon systems piloting. Piloting and ballistics. Oh, so can I not? So those are separate things to level up, but it won't let me level them up. Oh, no, piloting. Okay, never mind. There it is. And that's what that one is. Plus success. Okay, got it. That's true. There is a shot of him holding that Uzi though, but when he shoots, he's absolutely terrible. Where the heck is the stream? What do you mean? I think we got it. I think we got our stuff. Oh well, Co-Carnage is doing it. We're gonna read the review at 12. The embargo lifts in 10 minutes. We're gonna read a review as soon as it goes live. Whoever puts the first review up or does a video of the review me take a picture of this real fast. All right. That way, because if I back this out and then go there again, I think it's going to reset it, right? Yeah. So, all right. So tonight we'll know what our traits are that we put into what we're building. We're definitely building the hauler. So tonight, what we're going to do, we have a podcast, 8 p.m. We're not leaving anywhere. We're staying. We're going to read some stuff. 8 p.m. tonight, we're going to have a Generation X Gaming podcast. Weekly podcast goes over a few of the top stories in the past week, and we rant along the way. After that, we're going to go into Starfield. We're going to go into Starfield. We're going to go to Starfield and start our character build and make our character look as much as Jack Burton as possible. And then we'll go into the game. I'm not going to do story or kind of anything like that. What I'm going to do is we're kind of just walking around. Like after the tutorial part or whatever it does, we're going to walk around. If we're in our ship or whatever, we're just going to look around. I don't want to ruin anybody. We're just going to walk around and kind of just feel out, look at things, be in awe of what it is. And then this weekend I'll be playing. I'll be playing. There's a lot of people starting at 12. I bet there is. I bet there is. I put up the third episode of our football Legend Bowl is up there. So guys, go check that out as well. The third episode is actually doing pretty good than the other two. Hitting faster than the other ones. And if you guys missed it, we are doing a show, right? I'm going to be producing trying to make a production of Starfield. Okay. Of Starfield. I created a opening title sequence for it. You guys missed it last night on the show. I'll show it again right now just so you guys can see it. Yeah. So this is a I got this idea from Dabstick. Dabstick's like, you should do, because I made a joke or something about Captain's Log or whatever. He's like, dude, you should do that. You should do a Captain's Log type of show. So the way I'm going to be playing Starfield is I'm going to be playing Starfield. I'm not going to play this main story and just cut through the story. I'm going to go on adventures and do things. I'm going to try to use the NPCs. I'm going to try to get some B-roll. I'm going to make a production of it. I'm going to edit it together, make it a video, and then I'm going to post it up on to YouTube. So it'll be on 30NSG. It'll be a series called Captain's Log: The Adventures of Jack Burton. So this is what it's going to be. There you go. That's going to be a show that we're making called Captain's Log: The Adventures of Jack Burton. So it's not going to be instantaneously when we come out. So we put our character together, Travis. We put our character together. So tonight we're going to make the character. We're going to insert what we picked. So the show Captain's Log is going to be a show that I put together, and I'm going to make the first episode, and based on how that works, we'll continue Captain's Log. No, I'm not going to sound like Captain Kirk. I'm going to sound like me, but I'm going to play the character and voice Jack Burton, but I'm not going to do an imitation of Jack Burton, if that makes sense, Hit Squad. I'm gonna be me, but I'm gonna act like Jack Burton would act, right? I'm gonna try to so all the voice dialogue, all the lines that are there, I'm gonna read out, and you're living the game through first person or third person through me as I play. So I won't be on screen, it'll be produced stuff. I'm gonna try to make it like a TV show. I'm gonna try to make it like a TV show. Right. It's gonna be like inner monologue. Soups, it's going to be like inner monologue stuff, and then when there's dialogue on the screen, I'll read the dialogue like him, but it'll be like the entire time, it'll be like inner monologue, what he's doing, talking to himself type of thing. And I'm also going to ad-lib a lot of stuff. And I'm literally shooting from the hip here. I'm trying to figure out like what I can make each episode about, right? The backstory that I have. And the title sequence will change a little bit because that's their footage, obviously. But I'm going to put my footage in as I do different episodes. The different episodes will be. So if you ever watched like a show from the 80s or 90s, you know how they had like the credits and they would show like scenes of the season that they're in? That's basically what it would be. Am I gonna watch Big Trouble in Little China get into character? No. It's just the character. The fun character. We're not doing an impersonation of him. Who's Jack Burton? Me. That's who. I mean, I could go more. I'm not going into detail to like. I'm not gonna act like everybody else in the show. You know what I mean? I'm not doing that. Correct, Sarge. That's basically what I'm doing. Like if I I'll have like inner monologue. We're going on an adventure. Captain's Log. Today, and whatever the mission was, right? We have a meeting with the council. Some douchebag hired me for a job, right? And then you'll see me land. You'll see the establishing shot. You'll see me go in. You'll have the conversation, the dialogue with the person, and then we go on the adventure. And then that quest is the episode, right? You're not gonna see me. You're not gonna see me in the episode running around getting resources and shit. You know what I'm saying? All right, today we're just going around, unless it's part of the story. Will he run into his evil clone, Snake Plissken? Probably not. Probably not. I have some really good ideas, and hopefully you can do it in the edit. Starts now. All right, let's look up some. Let's see if there's reviews and stuff. What's the thing you guys are watching for the Starfield thing? Is it from Starfield, or is it everybody else? You're watching just somebody else playing it? I don't want to watch someone else's content live. You know what I mean? New Marvel's trailer drop? No one cares. Nobody cares. Turns out it's not a pre-show. You know what? You know what did drop today? You know what did drop today? That's right. DLC, baby. This is what everyone was waiting for on August 31st. Oh, I love it. Yeah, today it drops. Exclusive character colors. Oh shit. Oh cool, you can play in like black white. Yeah. That's out today. Available now. Go check it out. Support him. A great game. He did a great job with that. Put it in Discord, Stealth? All right. Put in the Starfield. Oh, okay. This is his review. All right. Let's read The Verge. Starfield is a stellar sci-fi refresh of the Bethesda RPG formula. The latest release of Bethesda reminisces of the games like Fallout and Skyrim, but with a new level of wonder and adventure, and the whole lot of polish. Okay, even when someone loves Fallout games as much as Amit, spending dozens of hours wasteful full of ghouls and raiders can be a little, well, depressing. It's not a kind of world that evokes the sense of adventure. That's what made a potential Starfield so exciting. Here was Bethesda applying its formula to the open world RPG in the giant universe with planets that discover the cosmic mysteries to unearth. It's basically Elder Scrolls by way of Hello Games called it to No Man's Sky, or No Man's Skyrim. It's a lot of ways Starfield lives up to the potential. It's indeed huge, and its main storyline is all about the thrill of adventure and discovery. I find myself pushing through the furthest reaches of space, going to the strange, dangerous new places on the quest to seek out the origins of the universe and humanity, places within. It's also a game that sticks fairly close to the blueprint of Bethesda has laid down for its role-playing experiences. Your quests might be as much grander in scale, but that you're also doing it on a moment-to-moment basis hasn't changed at all that much. This is also the most polished and solid release yet from Bethesda on a technical level. That's good to know. That's fantastic to hear, right? Right? Starfield starts out humble enough, and you are a miner on a dusty planet who accidentally digs up a strange potential alien artifact. For some reason, it speaks to you on a metaphysical level, and your character goes through an out-of-body experience that feels a lot like the trippier moments of 2001 Space Odyssey. This discovery ultimately leads you to a group of unknown constellations, a ragtag team of explorers. There's everyone that's quite theologian to a cowboy, or theoretically to a cowboy prominent family, to the business magnate who funds also whole endeavors, intent of uncovering mysteries of the universe. The constellation is like something Jules Verne would also come up with in a task of writing this episode of Star Trek. It also takes off for a more perfect jump-off point for a story about discovery and exploration. The group doesn't understand anything about the artifact, and only that they're probably important, and so the rest of Starfield is essentially dedicated to finding more of them to figure out just what they are. While the tone and scale of Starfield differ from the past Bethesda games, the core gameplay is very familiar. It's an RPG crossed with a shooter, where you can also build one character using a variety of traits and skills, often that it can impact how to approach missions, and sometimes you can also talk your way into getting what you want, and other times you'll need to fight. He says, I focused a lot on the social skills because, much like the Fallout before it, Starfield isn't the most adept shooter. It may also look like one, the huge range of weapons to collect and the ability to play from the first-person perspective, but this is not Destiny. Aiming feels wonky, and oftentimes shoots that seem to hit enemy point blank will fail to register. It'd be nice if Starfield had an equivalent of VAT system from Fallout, giving you a persuade turn-based combat, but instead, it's just a passable shooter attached to a very ambitious RPG. That might be the reason, I spent so many skill points on a persuasion ability. It's all right. Jack Burton's a talker, right? So conversation remains a big part of the experience. You spend a lot of time talking and end up close a view of whoever you're conversing with. You also need to chat with companion characters to get closer to them, while also making sure you don't do upsetting things like murder people in front of them. And others garner information on getting yourself out of trouble. Considering the sheer amount of dialogue on all of which is voiced and is impressive, just on how constantly well-written and acted Starfield is. There are some awkward moments when are more than two people in a conversation. Sometimes a character might not be facing you when speaking, and cuts between dialogue and can feel unnatural, but otherwise, it's all very convincing, which is good since you'll be spending a lot of time doing it. So while you're shooting the combat, you may leave a lot of desire. I found the role-playing elements very satisfying. My avatar truly felt like a blank slate, and I could morph into whatever I wanted. In this case, I made someone a lot like me, a wannable adventurer who loves to see new places, would rather talk than fight, and gets annoyed with anything too technical, and still goes home to visit his parents when they send a message. Starfield's space theme does bring some new gameplay elements to the experience. There's also, which is where No Man's Sky comparisons come from. You can land on any of the many planets to explore and complete with the scanning device and learn about the local plants, animals, and minerals. This is a nice idea. Through the few times I tried exploring for the sake of it, I didn't find much interesting besides a couple of weird aliens and some strange fungal formations. Basically, the only times I found anything really interesting happened while I was on a quest or some sort. Not even I ventured out on my own. Other maybe better luck. Similar to all the space travel means, you need a spaceship. And while it looks cool, you can also purchase some sweet upgrades for your new craft. I found piloting the ship was pretty fiddly. Instead, I mostly just fast travel from planet to planet, hoping that the pirate fleet wasn't waiting for me when I arrived because of dogfighting wasn't very fun. Okay? I'm assuming that the dogfighting probably wasn't very fun because you have to upgrade. Like when we read some of the stuff with the thrusters and the fighting and stuff, I'm going to assume based on the stuff that we read, the talents and whatnot, that dogfighting would get better. So your ship, your experience flying the ship would change based on what perks you put into your specs. Despite spending close to 50 hours with Starfield, there's a whole lot of things I didn't do in the game. I never built an outpost. Despite harvesting all kinds of gross things from aliens I killed, I spent very little time doing the crafting or cooking. But I actually, part of appeal, Starfield generally lets you focus on the areas of experiencing that you're interested in to you or your character while ignoring the others dabbling in the rest. For me, exploration and meeting new people. For others, it might be medically crafting outposts on alien worlds. Like most Bethesda games, the experience can almost be divided into two, main quest line and everything else. Here, the rarity for the developer, a central story is actually that pulled me in for the most. It took me a few hours to get going, but once I started to discover more strange and cosmetic elements of the narrative, I had a hard time focusing my attention on anything else. It's difficult to say too much without spoiling big moments, but Starfield's story definitely goes into some thrilling, unexpected directions and digs into some big picture questions about the origins of space travel and humanity exploration of the stars. It's helped along by a great cast of characters. I had a hard time choosing who would be my companion throughout, though. I was ultimately helped along by a sudden jarring death. I don't know the answer to whose question are entirely satisfying, but they do at least provide you with the most convincing reasons for the New Game Plus playthrough that I have yet to come across. The rest of the world and stories are a lot more uneven. Part of the problem is that while the main story of Starfield has its own distinct vibe with the grand secrets and particular artifacts, much of the rest feels very derivative. The cyberpunk planet drenched in rain and neon lights, where you can run missions and street gangs, or delve into the shady secrets of mega corporations, many of which connected to a kind of psychotropic drug made using a local fish. There's a Wild West planet right out of Firefly, where gunslingers rob banks and farmers to tame the land, and at one point you'll be forced to deal with the character who is a carbon copy of the Collector from the Guardians of the Galaxy. And the humanity capital city looks like the world if memed. It's hard not to feel that Bethesda tried to force as many sci-fi tropes into Starfield as possible, whether or not it was there for the new ground to explore. That said, there's interesting side stories to dig into. Many of those worlds are big enough, and you can also spend hours within the setting of the foot into spaceship to go somewhere else. I did that on Neon, and generically named Cyberpunk Planet, and it felt almost like a smaller game within a larger universe of Starfield. None of the quests I did with ranged from fish smuggling to helping famous DJ deal with the Stalker had anything to do with the artifacts or the origins of the universe. But they can lead you to some fun and unexpected directions, like when I had an accidental run-in with the Neon Police and ended up having to go to undercover mission infiltrating some space pirates in order to avoid jail time. That sounds pretty cool. It sounds like if you just want to play the story, you can have the story and have it what it is. Not Jack Burton, my friends. Jack Burton's doing side quests galore. We're going to get into some adventures. And that right there is what it sounds extremely fun. Okay. From what I played, and there's a lot of quests I didn't do or get to, it was a 50-50 whether side missions would be interesting or tedious. Some were incredibly boring, like a quest that I had me running all over the slum, flipping switches in order to solve electrical problems. Others seemed tedious and turned out into something more exciting, like when a coffee run suddenly became a tense, potential violent situation in the middle of a cafe. It's really hard to tell what you're in for until to start the quest. See, I kind of like that, though, right? I kind of like the fact that if you take a quest, some quests might be shit. You can't always have a fucking 10 quest, right? Where you're running through stuff all the time, like a Grand Theft Auto type of stuff, right? This sounds like something like realistic. Like you play, you choose if you want to play. If you want to go, the more depth that you want to go into the story, you can, if you want, right? With your character, not so much the story. I think it's cool. Now, it says you might have noticed that I've gotten this far into the review without discussing bugs, and that's for a good reason. I experienced very few of them in my time with Starfield. That's generally surprising coming from Bethesda, a studio where glitches and bugs are accepted part of the experience. But Starfield is polished like no game from the studio before. That's not to say it didn't see anything weird. Characters run into walls or stand on top desks. People face the wrong direction during conversations at one point. The floor of the saloon turned entirely invisible, and the weird physics for dead bodies is still in place too. So enemies will crumple up in occasionally hilarious ways when they die. But the situation were pretty rare, and none had the impact on them game itself. This removes a huge mental burden. Unlike every time I play Fallout, I wasn't constantly afraid of hitting some game-breaking issue, and would also stall my progress or force me to load an old save. That said, I did save continuously out of habit. Put this all together, and you have a game that doesn't fundamentally change the formula Bethesda has built in reputation. And Starfield is another huge experience with almost overwhelming amount of things to do and see, coupled with some great characters and development of role-playing features, and so action. But it's also smooths over many of the rough edges that have defined the past releases from the studio, while introducing a new theme of narrative that matches the grand ambitions of the Bethesda and is always strive for. It never changes, but it's a lot more thrilling in space. Sounds good, man. That's a good overall review, I see. I like it. What really gets me going is the amount of he's talking about the different side quests. Like, again, I'm in for the story. I'm always in for the story. But pretending, that's what it is, right? To pretend my character is going into this world and I'm like going to like take the 2, 3, 5 hours, and every time I'm in the game I feel like I'm being a part of this, like, my own adventure. That's cool. All right, let me see what you guys are saying. That's all I found so far. I didn't have an Xbox, have zero interest in this game, but 30 playing as Jack Burton type. I buy that for $1. I appreciate that. What did it say? It finds the artifact and it's out of body experience. It's Mass Effect. It speaks to you. It says that you want to be rich and powerful. Water says 9 out of 10. Do you think exploring is always action? Boring unless you like exploring. Yeah. I reckon I'll love dogfighting regardless of what they just said about the reviewer. It's too often I've heard that something is like that is only discovered myself. A practice is a determined factor. I agree. I heard Ace Combat, Armored Core, etc., etc. Sarge says, I play the game initially as one life to live, and I'll play how I would, where real and have one life. Make it to the end as I win. If I die before, then I just play anyway. Right from that point. I gotcha. Don't mess with my Starbucks. All 9s out of 10s, fucking suck it, haters. Now, don't be a sore winner, Dupless. Travis says, exactly. Can't have every quest be as good as the Mass Effect missions. There are still not as good missions. Like, not all missions were 10s, Travis. Come on. So fetch quests, I mean, they get boring, but all games have them. Of course, Rose. Of course. Let's see. Can't wait for 8 to dive in. 9.9. Games like this, you don't go directly into the main story. You get lost in the side quests. This is why I hate 1 to 5 scales. Yeah, they should really grade it like an alphabet thing, and then give you a reason. Buddha Papa says it's often people font like dogfighting because they don't really know how to dogfight. I probably will do 15 side quests before going to the main story quest. Yeah, I'm not playing the Adventures of the Captain's Log, Adventures of Jack Burton. I'm not going to be doing the main story. I'm going to be doing everything, right? Everything. All I ask, if you start the first episode with bragging story into the space receiver about the past adventures. Well, no, Big T, this is how it's starting, right? My backstory, anyway, is that because I always played Jack Burton, and because we played Fallout 3 and Fallout 4 and Fallout 76, really the character from Fallout 76 is that he got off the Earth, right, before the big explosion happened, or another explosion was happening in the apocalyptic world. So he takes off and he's in cryogenically frozen. He wakes up and he's in this world now. Like he's 300 years into the future or whatever. So now it's his inner monologue of, where am I? What is this world and stuff like that. IGN gave it a 7. You and me both getting excited as you were reading it. But doesn't IGN give everything a 7? That's funny. Okay, bro, I downloaded and I'm ready to screw the show. Sarge, are we just going to talk about Starfield tonight? Just everything about Starfield? Is that what we're doing tonight? IGN reviews aren't meant to be taken seriously. Let's see the review. Let's see the review for IGN. Do they have their video up? Stealth posted a bunch of shit in here. All right. Okay, the Metacritic score on Starfield right now is 91 out of 25 reviews. 91. We got Starfield. Game Informer, 8.5 out of 10. Destructoid, 10 out of 10. Video Gamer, 9 out of 10. Gaming Trend, 90 out of 100. COG Connect, 90 out of 100. Gaming Nexus, 9.5. We got this covered, 4.5 out of 5. Stevier, 8 out of 10. Let's see. Worth Playing, 9 out of 10. Fair Extra Life, 9.4 out of 10. Sector, SK, 9.4 out of 10. Gaming Hub, 4 out of 5. Multiplayer First, 9 out of 10. Infinite Start, 10 out of 10. Pixel Arts, 10 out of 10. Kokochi Pearl, 100 out of 100. Destructoid, 10 out of 10. Game Informer, 8 out of 10. Shax News, 9 out of 10.
Desk over there, we have the night.
How long is this? That's an hour. Yeah, we're not going to do that one. We're not going to do that one. Star Review Gamecast. Gaming Trend made it a 90 out of 100. Starfield review. Here's my Starfield review. Watch here. Dude, you're like you remind me of my son right now, because my son, when he wins, he's like, in your face. I'm like, no one likes a sore winner, man. Like just take it with stride, right? The game will speak for itself. You don't got to be the opposite of what people are, the haters. All right, let's 23 minutes.
Space. The final frontier, some say, has long held a fascination for mankind, video games, and now Bethesda, whom have used this setting to deliver their first new game on Series X and S and PC, and also their very first new IP since Elder Scrolls. Is this a brand new horizon for the studio? As a galactic RPG rammed with a mix of handcrafted and procedurally generated planets across the Milky Way and beyond, the ability for us to cover it all is not possible. The game has a core story-driven narrative that will lead all players through the same areas by and large, but the 1,000+
obviously, if you guys don't want to know anything and you want to go in blind, as far as visually goes, this is your warning, because we are going to look at this. We're going to look at other people's reviews and enjoy, because look, let's take it what it is. This is a hype moment for video gamers, not really for like Xbox. So people that are excited to play Starfield, we're going to cover Starfield.
Plus something planets will be surplus to that. As the scale is so big, this performance review will break it down into 3 key categories: where it succeeds, where it falls down, and what could be better. Both consoles use FSR2 alongside potentially having DRS engaged. They additionally use VRS, and all these techniques are focused on the best image quality and tightest hold on that 30 FPS rate they both run at, covered in the performance section. The Series X targets 4K as a final output in conjunction with FSR2's reconstruction, and
You're
Series
already in?
S targets 1440p,
like you're playing the game right now?
again via reconstruction. Based on a selection of counts, the game appears to remain at a fixed percentage of this. Counts on Series X and Motion were 2560 by 1440, which suggest approximately 66% scale on each axis of 4K based on the PC's menu. Both could dynamically shift between quality, balance, and performance levels or thereabouts, but I found no sections where they did from my counts, noted more in the PC segment.
It looks
now,
good.
Series S comes in much lower as expected, with again fixed counts of approximately 900p, suggesting a 62% scale of 1440, meaning it runs approximately 40% of the Series X resolution, in addition to a few other reductions. Now, ultimately, the Series X image quality is very sharp, stable, and clean, helped by the high resolution textures and...
I don't think that looks bad, though. You know what I'm saying? Let me rewind it a little bit, right? We'll click back. I don't think it looks... It's still going to look good on the S. You know?
X image quality is very sharp, stable, and clean. All
right, so this is the X over here right now, and this is the S that's swiping across right now.
By the high resolution textures and clean lines of much of the world. Sharpening is maybe a little too high, as it can introduce fizzle on subpixel areas such as specular highlights, thin signs, at oblique angles,
you can see that. Here's also a thing, right? A lot of people are not even going to notice this, right? Just like most people, when I watch a movie or watch a TV show, I'm more critical than other people. So someone might like a show or a movie better than me because I'm very critical of it. And I know there's people that are critical of games and stuff like this, and this might be very critical for some people. I get it.
on that GTAO and shadows due to the sparse shading used. But the presentation is very good nonetheless and would convince most that this is a native 4K output. The Series S is not so convincing, but still very good, due to the lower base counts presenting a softer, less stable and noisier image than the Series X. Details are less visible and the image shimmer on AO specular textures is more obvious here. The reconstruction to 1440p via FSR2 is decent in slow moving sections, and the space sections do tend...
Oh, 100%, Warrior. I say it all the time. People don't know what they're missing until they get there. You know what I mean? People that have like a 720p don't know about 1080p. People that have 1080p have no idea about 2K. That type of stuff.
Tend to look the sharpest. Any planets with volumetrics, denser fauna and alpha, then the lower pixel counts, that VRS and general reconstruction.
Like look at the difference, right? Look at the world of difference as far as you can see the difference of the trees and the landscape or whatnot. People that don't see it side by side comparison like this don't even know. They're loving the world that they're in.
And sharpening passes can cause some breakup and interference. It's never bad, but visibly worse than the Series X, but not to a huge degree. Some of this comes from the lower texture quality the Series S also has over the Series X, with fine details being reduced and MIPS sometimes loading later or using lower quality ones when many are on screen, and in addition, many effects are reduced on Series S over the X. Level of detail is reduced, mostly in grass and trees and buildings, volumetrics, SSAO quality, shadow cascade and filtering, but nothing too drastic, just nips and tucks to reflect the power difference between the two consoles. In side-by-sides, the Series X certainly looks better than the S, but this will vary on planet to planet and scene to scene. You are not losing much in the visual stakes, and you lose none of the game's exploration, combat, AI, and more.
I'm assuming, Silent Warrior, that the places that he's going to are like crafted tiles. Like, he could have just been outside of like the wall where it was crafted. You know what I'm saying? I don't think it's like a random spot. He's probably going to places that are on missions. On both missions, it would send you to the same place, and those places are crafted. Potential. Yeah, story tiles. Thank you.
One minor negative is the use of VRS can cause heavy blocking of the image, more so on Series S but also on X and even PC, but at least you have the option to disable it there. Now, due to this, I did also get some 720p and 400p counts on Series X and Series S respectively, due to that 2x2 pixel structure it uses. And the shift when this kicks in, as you see here with the takeoff, can be obvious. Thankfully, it is not frequent enough to impact the overall great image quality across the board and certainly across the game. The boost in the visuals continue.
Okay, that particular scene right there, I'm gonna back up for a second. You can almost see where the tile ends in this particular one, right? You could probably run up to those mountains, but then the barrier is probably behind those mountain type of thing.
Across the board and certainly across the game.
Again, I'm just guessing. But look at the distance travel. Do you know what I mean? The size of Skyrim. Just remember that. Each tile is the size of Skyrim.
The boost in the visuals continue with significantly improved PBR materials. Metallic is still the key material here, but good use of roughness, specular and drop-off help sell the quality. Ground truth ambient occlusion is one of the best screen-spaced AO techniques and used here with high-quality shadow cascades and screen-spaced shadows for distant objects and contact shadows. The game world looks detailed, vibrant and solid, especially at a distance which is important for the vistas you will be admiring from miles out. The lighting is important for such a vast game, with fixed points across a 24-hour cycle, enabling soft glows of sunrise, long shadows and global illumination that adds light bounce and irradiance to external areas, something you can see in these shots even with the in-game time waiting option, as you see with the shifts of light through the ship cockpit. Subsurface scattering improves skin tones.
In-game time. So I wonder, if you have a farm and then you fast travel, or not fast travel, but make the time go by, can I collect my stuff? Is it like real time or in-game time? You know what I'm saying? Like for your resources and stuff? Well, I guess we'll find out.
And light penetration quality, which just enhances the look and feel of characters and the world that little bit more. The animation of characters is robotic as expected, but the improved facial animations, increased bone rigging and nuance of expressions based on emotion, dialogue and such is the best yet from the team. With a wide variety of faces to see, voices to hear, and the voice acting itself is great, with a vast cast of individuals that you meet, greet and more across the story. And this, alongside the custom crafting, shipbuilding and open-ended RPG elements, all add immensely to the raised quality in the visual and world building stakes, and a variety of clutter is still a key Bethesda staple that reaches for the stars here on occasion.
I have to say, just looking at that right there, it feels like the same type of dogfighting inside of No Man's Sky. Really.
This is one I never expected to include in the successors, but I'm over the moon about it. Literally. With both consoles targeting 30 FPS, like all Bethesda console releases to this day, but as an RPG first and foremost, it's not a huge deal breaker, and our thoughts on the reasons we covered a few months back. Taking the Series X first, across a selection of planets, some of the denser ones such as Atlantis City, then it holds a very consistent 33 millisecond frame time, meaning we see some of the most stable performance of any Bethesda title at launch in many a year.
There you go.
Space battles are also very stable, at least the smaller ones I've had so far, and over a good 10 plus hours of play on each console and PC, I have not experienced any major performance hiccups that have stood out to me, with the caveat that the sheer scale of the game means some of these situations may appear later in the game. That said, it does have a few areas that could be improved. Memory management appears to be a key area for the engine and team to improve on, some areas within that performance level. With a mix of procedural and tailored creation, assets and objects streaming in, such as when you land on planets being the most obvious but short-lived, causing 300 milliseconds at worst pauses as the data is loaded in ready to use. These are brief, and once loaded into RAM, normal service resumes. These also crop up during combat or exploration of bigger cities, causing brief stutter from time to time that can see the FPS into the mid-20s at worst. Again, all short-lived and point to some areas of streaming which...
The haters are going to look at that for the minuscule of the drop, but it's rock solid at 30. This is my conversation all the time about this. Everyone wants 60, but if it dropped below 60, people would freak the fuck out. So they make it at 30, and they're trying to make it a rock solid 30. You know what I mean?
Are likely on a patch list for the team. In a selection of combat, both in and out of buildings though, the readout so far at least is very good on both consoles, with the closed off internal segments being the best of all across all platforms, as the render and engine load here is less intensive, as these... Did you see? It went down to 28. Did you see it?
Like, that's what the people are complaining about. They said 30. They said 30. It says 28 up there. Trash.
As these are, as noted in our preview last year, much like the previous games, all hand-built, closed-off segments separate from the open planet design outside, and therefore they put less pressure on the hardware. The Series S delivers almost an identical performance rate and shows the team have worked hard to ensure that the console did not suffer over its bigger brother, and reinforces the cutbacks made to ensure similar levels in my tests. The same streaming and loading stutter is to be expected, slightly worse here when it does, and even some dips in the denser planets may crop up, but considering the size and scale of the game's ambitions, this is the best option, and I'm sure the game is often flipping between CPU, GPU and memory bound, again as we noted in our preview,
the S drops
and by
more,
running
but still
at 30
solid.
FPS, this gives each frame a full 33 milliseconds to complete. Above this level, the performance rates would likely not be as solid, and certainly not as consistent on either console, as noted in the PC segment shortly. And thus the choice of 30 FPS is the correct one, as we have no major issues to speak of, and I was very impressed with the density of Atlantis, the NPC count, that neither console had any big areas that would cause prolonged dips under 30 FPS, and it is heavily CPU bound in these areas. The game has great
This is the most in-depth review I think IGN's ever done.
ambitions and indeed greater expectations, and stating purely on a technical front, we have to move into the aspects that are disappointing or greatly impede your engagement.
We're 10 minutes in, he hasn't even talked about the actual game yet, just about the frame rate.
Staying with performance of a different kind, though, is my first negative with the game, and one I had hoped would have been resolved, or at the very least, significantly mitigated with the fast SSDs and memory increase in these consoles. Loading in this game is an issue you simply cannot ignore. If this generation has added little else, loading has been a drastic improvement across the board, and sadly it is here that the old engine base underneath, as improved as its Creation Engine 2 is, start to peek through, and it's likely the biggest anchor.
Can we... We're complaining about 5 seconds. We're complaining about 5 seconds. Do we remember how long load screens were? Fucking Destiny had a literally 2.5-minute load screen. 2.5-minute load screen, and we're complaining about 5 seconds.
On the team's greater ambitions. Walking from an exterior to an interior, loaded screen. Walk into your ship's cockpit, load. Go on a train, load. Lifts, shops, even travelling across planets on foot limit you within a bounding box from your ship. The engine limits actually hinder the game's scope and your immersion within it. Compounding this is the time some take to load. Series X here going into a shop can take 3 seconds as it fades to black and back out again. Leaving your ship just over 2 seconds on Series S and Series X, and anything bigger such as entering a large building or docking onto a ship can be 5 to 8 seconds, and fast travel is anything but, with some taking 12 seconds or more. Even sections that should be in real time in gameplay, such as docking or undocking, show an
Just so you guys know, I did complain. I said, that's a lot of cutscenes to see. And people were like, it's not going to be that's a lot of cutscenes of the ship taking off and landing.
Skippable sequence that takes around 7 seconds. The issue here is these all start to add up, and the time it takes and how much it breaks up your enjoyment and flow of the game, with the clear split of boxed off areas of a planet, buildings or ship being hard to ignore as these soft boundaries keep bumping into you. With the limit being that even on a planet's surface, you can only go so far and you hit an invisible wall, necessitating a return to your ship pop-up or pick a new spot closer to the equidistance of what you wanted to act.
Stop. I gotta hear what he said about this again.
You can only go so far and you hit an invisible wall, necessitating a return to your ship pop-up or pick a new spot closer to the equidistance of what you wanted to actually look at. This is my biggest gripe and a missed opportunity, as you cannot land on planets yourself and explore them without impedance. And this is where I will bring the elephant into the room. No Man's Sky, as one of the most immersive and impressive things about that game, and why you can lose yourself within it, is the seamless nature of station, ship, space and planet travel. Flying into or out of a planet's atmosphere, through the volumetric clouds, across the surface, landing anywhere and back up again never gets old. Jumping into warp speed and feeling like the entire galaxy is yours to explore. Sadly, Starfield fails at capturing this feeling or wow factor, as these moments, which should have been core from a gameplay and certainly technical perspective, are missing or lacking. Many story-driven planets have key segments to land within. These are largely not procedurally built, with limited spots on the entire planet to land on and take off from, mostly down to the surface type to be fair, i.e. oceans and such, meaning it is no longer a planet per se, but actually small segments of a round sphere that you can never travel across, into or out of freely, effectively limited by that memory allocation they can work with in real time. Planets are just there as an oil painting, keep boosting, and it just hangs in front of you like a star you can never reach. The procedural ones do allow you to land pretty much anywhere on the surface. Sadly though, these two are just canned cutscenes of your ship landing at the spot and off again, which alongside the long and frequent loading impacts the feeling of a pure sci-fi adventure it promised, and No Man's Sky still does this part significantly better. The cities and habitats are much bigger, fuller and lively in this sense, and No Man's Sky simply cannot compete with the high budget of characters, branching story, voice acting, combat and richer places to visit being a highlight. The problem is, it feels like all previous Bethesda titles in so many regards that the space exploration element plays a back seat to these fixed and limited denser areas, mixed up with barren rocks, sand dunes, monsters, and little else to look at. In fact, in many ways, it feels like an enhanced version of Fallout, meaning the heart of the game is within that linear narrative which has those RPG elements that make it your very own.
I also did say it was Fallout in space.
But it fails to bring the galaxy into a Bethesda world. Now, all prior Bethesda titles have been known and loved as much for the worlds they create, but the freedom and physics and dynamic nature they also offer. And Starfield does the same here, with a data-driven engine driving AI, object destruction, combat, dialogue, with heavy use of state models for many of these. Physics are key, and work as well here as before, mostly anyway, but really are no better and have not seen the same improvements, to the same degree at least, as the visuals, and in some ways can actually be worse. You still get crazy physics of bodies bouncing, high friction on contact, deflated balloon-like deaths, and even sticking to railings or just bouncing off into orbit. AI is still pretty terrible, with enemies just strolling around without a care in the world as you shoot them in the head, or even just standing in fridges alone staring at walls. It can get lonely in space, I suppose. Companion AI can be the most egregious though, with it often freezing during combat, being stuck in poses, and most annoyingly, walking in front of you mid-battle getting shot, and sometimes never entering combat. Now, I know Sarah is a tough cookie, but in the middle of a firefight, this is not the time to shoot the breeze and ask about my day.
Find any sign of Vanguard Moara. Keep your eyes open.
A few minutes
later.
That's
the Bethesda charm right there.
Themselves to be enlightened. But their lives were so busy, they rarely
You picked the wrong fight.
As humorous and ironic as these moments can be, they can distract from the dramatic story and realism it aims for. AI specifically remains limited in many aspects, and it leaves combat good, but not significantly better than any previous game, with many of the enemies presenting little challenge, even less awareness, and a grip on life that is marginally stronger than your average chicken. The amount of weapons, customizations, and good use of motion blur on hands, the guns themselves with depth of field, helps the visceral fun the firefights offer, working significantly better in first person. Not a surprise when id Tech helped the team out in some visual embellishments. As fun as they can be, it does not differentiate itself sufficiently from prior games. The space battles, although a welcome change and some missions use the setting well, they never feel complete enough, and dogfighting, at least in my playtime so far, is good, but bigger battles, more dramatic set pieces would have helped immensely here. Fundamentally, more could be done here to elevate all three aspects of the title, and none of this is due to the hardware limits covered next.
Their shields are back! When did that happen?
Now, being a DX12 title, then shader stutter is a potential issue. Fear not though, as the game pre-builds these on first boot, and on my AMD RX 6800 with a 5600X CPU, it took approximately 45 seconds. Once done, I never saw a single hiccup or stutter that I could attribute to shader compilation at least, so a strong start for Bethesda here. It continues with options with 4K plus possible, 120 FPS, possibly more, and a wealth of tweaks to visuals and world density can be made. They're not the most exhaustive, but decent nonetheless. No detail on what each option does aside some text, so a visual guide or transparent menu here would help. They scale performance on my AMD rig here at 4K FSR2 reconstruction using a 65% scaling factor, roughly 1440p. Now, of note is the menu has a DRS option, but this also appears ornamental currently, or it's set far too soft to make an impact. Multiple counts when my machine was at 4K 100% scale at 30 FPS levels, all counts were 4K. Backing this up with performance testing on versus off at Ultra saw 0% uplift and points to the fact that it likely doesn't work. Maybe a later update will enable on PC and console, which is why I found no shifts in.
Do you guys want me to listen to the rest of this PC stuff? Like, we know it's running. You want to just go to the summary? Because it's like 10 minutes of this. I mean, obviously we know it runs on the PC, right? Let's go to the summary. Go to the summary.
And Bethesda game for the past 5 years, at least. And on a technical front, it does a great many things right. World details, PBR materials, lighting, nailing that 70s sci-fi visual fidelity with clear Alien 2001 and more design cues and stylistic flair. From the wealth of the shipbuilding elements, character model improvements to space battle.
Do they have a mode like this, like a photo mode that I could do stuff like this? That'd be good for my show.
Bounty hunters and mystique, it reaches for the elites of this world. My single biggest issue with it all, though, is the separate pieces never connect as a whole. The disjointed nature of planet travel, canned animations, and excessive loading and management of memory greatly distracts from a rich story and possibilities underneath. From AI that cannot stay alive or out of the line of fire, a lack of great set pieces or wow moments, at least in the first 15 hours or so of the main story, the quality, performance and scale is very impressive, with the PC and console versions being demanding, but the best yet for a launch game. I am sure Xbox and AMD helped the team out on that score, but ultimately it is another good, dynamic and fun game from the studio, one that you will lose hours in for sure, but one that fails to reach the star it lit up in 2018 in many ways. Elder Scrolls may be old and dated now, but relative to the time, it still takes the helm of their most pioneering game. Maybe with patches to come, they can improve the pitch on this Starfield.
We got a Rook on deck. Good to see Constellation getting some fresh blood.
And that's it for a deep dive into space, ships, PCs, pixels, and all things computer and video game related. Remember, if you like what we do here on IGN Performance Reviews, then keep it IGN.
He didn't actually give a score
in outer space,
right? He didn't give a score. He was doing the technical stuff. Okay. The only thing I don't like about his review, I think his review is very fair, or his technical thing was very fair about what the good and bad was about the thing. The only thing I don't like is that we're comparing. I understand No Man's Sky is an open world game and you can land and whatnot, right? And again, I'm not defending Starfield. I'm one that wants to land and take off, okay? But no one's brought up the fact that technically, like the technical fundamental thing that they've done, the technical in evolution of what Bethesda games have done, they've made the maps bigger, right? Smaller, bigger, more stuff on it, more things, multiplayer, right? They've done all these things leading up to this thing. And people are worried about the boundary thing, but they've literally made the tile the same size of a game that you've been playing for the last 10 years. Like think about this. Skyrim has been out for over a decade, and the map is literally the same size it's been the entire time. It's one tile. And you could do that tile 1,000 times, 2,000 times, 1,000,000 times. But no one seems to understand that. They're just like, well, it's not No Man's Sky. And I'm just like, I don't understand. Like, it's impressive what they've done with the engine that they've used for this game. They've upgraded their engine. They didn't get a new engine. They've upgraded the engine they've been using for literally 25, 30 years. Speaking of better, did you see the new world update? No. Stealth, thank you very much for the 5 gifted memberships. Appreciate that. Okay, this is the 12-minute review.
All right, everybody, strap yourselves in. This is going to be a bumpy ride.
Shields ready.
I feel like I'm the kind of person Starfield was made for. I loved Bethesda's last single-player RPG, Fallout 4, maybe a bit too
Thanks
much.
for becoming a
There's
member.
nothing I like more than a sci-fi universe with spaceships, lasers, and political intrigue flying every which way.
1 second, guys. Sorry.
And yet, a dozen hours in, I was feeling lost in
I
space.
gotta open Discord.
Things never went too far off course while
Thanks
I
for
was
becoming
flying
a
my
member.
rinky-dink little ship around, chasing down mysterious artifacts and war criminals with a damn fine crew of companions at my side. But man, did Starfield make me work hard to get through that opening stretch.
You know, most Dusties don't even make it this far.
Even when it mostly righted the
Thanks
ship
for
and I was
becoming a
loving
member.
the story, side quests, and launching boarding parties on enemy ships, there were still too many problems that constantly popped up, forcing me to curb my excitement. It's a bit like Starfield's own elaborate shipbuilder tool. Even though you can slap together a bunch of high-end parts and it will
Thanks for
technically
becoming a
fly,
member.
sometimes it's just not the best fit. I'd expect no less, but Bethesda has built out a
Thanks for
sprawling
becoming a
universe
member.
with detailed lore. I wouldn't call it especially distinctive. It's reminiscent of universes like The Expanse and Firefly, and full of references to every sci-fi movie from Aliens to Blade Runner, and of course Interstellar. In fact, there's a significant similarity to what Obsidian created for 2019's The Outer Worlds. But the story of how humans abandoned Earth and colonized the stars is so densely packed in, with more around every corner, that I found it easy to get invested in.
We're all here because we're committed to exploring space.
Once I learned the difference between the United Colonies and the Freestar Collective.
United Colonies strive to provide all their citizens with opportunity, security, and peace.
Majority of them are
Regardless of
nines.
which background option and starting
Mid
skills
nine,
you pick for your
low-
character,
like
everyone
nine,
starts out in the same
mid-nines.
mining camp and touches the same space
couple in the
magic that
seven-
sets off
in
a
the
trippy
70s.
2001 A Space Odyssey style vision. But after that, Starfield is an immense game that will send you off in all kinds of different directions once it hands you the keys to your first spaceship. It's to the point where talking to others who have played alongside me has left us all bewildered.
Wait, what do you mean you don't know who the Vanguard are?
Wow, you didn't unlock that until level 20?
You met who in a bar? Your new best friend on Neon.
You can easily fall down all sorts of wormholes into extended chains of missions that take you on adventures that rival Skyrim's in scope. Even after about 70 hours, there are major quest lines I haven't even touched, and others I've left unfinished. I'm eager to go back and pick those up now that I've completed the main story.
You know there's more to come.
In typical Bethesda fashion, that main quest itself isn't terribly flexible in how you can resolve the situations it thrusts you into. Your options here are, for the most part, about picking whether you want to be a Boy Scout for whom a good deed is its own reward, a wisecracking mercenary who asks to be rewarded after doing a good deed, or an all-business mercenary who demands to be paid up front to do said good deed.
I'll say right up front that if you're looking to get rich, this ain't the line of work for you.
There are a few life and death choices, and there's a decision at the end about which philosophy to embrace before heading into the final battle. But most of it is going to play out the same way because, no matter what, your goal is to solve the mystery of those artifacts alongside your secret society of explorers known as Constellation. I won't say much about where the plot goes because it's way too easy to spoil, but I did enjoy the way it probes its biggest concept in distinctive ways, and there's plenty of well-written discussion about what it all means.
Get out of here, Dusty. You're on to bigger things.
It's in the side quests that you really get to act out your character's morals and choose to resolve conflicts peacefully or just by killing and robbing innocent people. There's a storyline that felt very Boys from Brazil inspired, as well as numerous related quests about hunting down war criminals that pose ethical quandaries to reconcile.
If it dealt death, he could make a deal more.
You can even join up with the Crimson Fleet pirates and dive into a life of smuggling and general space crime. It seems like it would take hundreds of hours to explore them all, and there sure are.
Compared to what, Rose? Compared to other games or compared to Bethesda games? You see, the comparison to another game, taking their character models from their past games and comparing them to this game, I think is fair. And these character models are a much bigger upgrade, right, of their own past games. Comparing these character models to a different engine, an Unreal Engine or Unity or anything like that, I think it's unfair. I think you're correct that they don't look good compared to other engines, but comparing their character models of their engine to their own other engine, I think this is an upgrade. I think they look great for their engine.
There are a lot of options. I wouldn't say I've encountered anything just yet that's as spectacular as destroying Megaton in Fallout 3, but Starfield has its moments. There's no shortage of interesting companion characters to hang out with throughout all this. There's definitely a focus on Sarah, the virtuous leader of Constellation.
Don't think we can't find another way to get what we want.
And Sam, an angsty former lawman with a young...
But I do think it's unfair, though, because you're comparing their engine, which other games are not built in. Hogwarts wasn't built in it, right? Fortnite's not built in it. Forsaken's not built in the engine, right? Their character models are massively upgraded from the past character models they had for their other games.
Young daughter who he's always worried will see him as less than perfect. However, I was richly rewarded by taking the eccentric scientist Barrett along with me on some missions.
You're part of this now.
And I suspect the others hold a few surprises up their sleeves as well. But you can only take one with you at a time, so I have more exploration to do here as well.
We waste time. We should complete our mission and then we can talk.
It helps that Bethesda has certainly upped its facial animation game for Starfield. Sure, it's nowhere near as lifelike as motion capture performances we've seen in The Last of Us and God of War, but generally, it's expressive enough that it can do justice to the excellent voice performances.
Looking a little more murdery than usual, but let's just say they had it coming.
Exactly, Mo. I'm comparing their engine to their engine. Right? I could hypothetically be like, yeah, it's not as good as Unreal Engine stuff. Well, it's completely different.
Starfield's problems, though, are glaring. I have to say that the early hours are pretty rough going, and there was a while there when I was wondering if the stars would ever align. So this review is going to go through that rough patch too. But bear with me, just like Starfield itself, it does get better by the end.
That's why I keep him around. Good pep talks.
Here's the biggest fundamental problem. See this vast map of stars? It feels extremely small when each of its hundreds of explorable planets is separated by little more than a loading screen. It didn't take long for me to realize that takeoff and landing animations are barely interactive cutscenes. They can often be bypassed by just going to the map screen and jumping to another planet without even setting foot on a ship.
I said that over a year ago. Over a year ago, I said that.
It's impossible not to compare Starfield's disjointed space travel to the seamlessness of No Man's Sky, and it's a bit of a letdown every single time. The next nuisance that irritated me no matter where I roamed is the fact that there are no actual maps, mini or otherwise. This screen is just not helpful at all. I spent way too much time searching for basic things like vendors to sell my loot to while I tried to memorize the layout of multiple settlements. And I expect most people will just look up community-made maps like the ones that IGN's guide team is working on anyway.
Nice little nice little promotion. I can't find my way around the world. You gotta get a community thing. IGN's making one. Nudge, nudge, wink, wink.
Also, like Bethesda's previous RPGs, Starfield's playtime is roughly 30% inventory management, and yet it's shockingly bad at that task. You'll constantly need to transfer loot between your inventory and your companions or to and from your ship's cargo hold. But maddeningly, you can't view both at the same time like you can in Fallout 4 and Skyrim. Modders, if you're listening, please help. Those problems never got better during my playthrough. I just learned to live with them.
Can I use the same defense in the complaints of Starfield to the complaints of the people defending like Diablo? Well, you can't expect it to happen because this is how an action RPG is the same people that said for Diablo. You can't want things to get better because this is how ARPGs are. So you can't expect the inventory system to be better. This is just how Bethesda RPGs are. You see how that works now?
The hump that I did work my way over, though, is that Starfield doesn't tell you enough about how its huge collection of systems work, and it trickles out the cool stuff too slowly. Out of the gate, you can't mod your equipment, you can't use your essential boost pack, and you can barely use stealth or board enemy ships at all. You can build outposts that are a lot like Fallout 4's settlements, but it doesn't tell you that you probably shouldn't bother with them early on because you don't need huge quantities of a single resource until way later.
But it shouldn't tell you that, because if you've played any game from Bethesda, play the game how you want to play. If you want to sit there and build bases, by all means, go build bases.
Speaking of, storage space on the first tier of ships is obnoxiously small for the amount of loot and resources you gather. I resorted to silly workarounds like throwing stuff on the floor of my ship like a space hoarder.
What can I help you with?
Eventually, though, all that stuff gets resolved through upgrades and learning the ropes. It's also worth noting that the worlds you explore are generally visually different with varying gravity, but they're barren and lifeless aside from the crafted areas you visit in quests. I mean, yeah, you'd expect that from planets that are mostly untouched by intelligent beings, but that doesn't make them a lot more fun to run around. Outside of a handful of randomly generated outposts full of enemies to raid, all there is to do is scan trees and rocks, or
again, I talked about this about a year ago when they first showed it at E3 2022. I was like, you can put all the planets you want. There's going to be nothing on those planets. Right? You do 10 planets, you're going to be like, yeah, I'm good.
zap them with a mining laser.
We just love rocks.
Or sometimes scan and maybe shoot alien wildlife. It's a far cry from Bethesda's previous games, where you could barely swing a dead mud crab without hitting something cool. And it took a while for me to learn that I could largely just ignore this stuff. There's one part of the main quest that's pretty repetitive too. You're sent to investigate a series of ancient structures, and it's annoying that what you do inside of each one is completely identical. The rewards are different and enticing enough for me to want to chase them all down at least. But after the first few, I couldn't help but wish that Bethesda's designers had taken some inspiration from Breath of the Wild when it came to creating different puzzles for each one.
I think that criticism, again, I haven't played the game, can be said pretty much for any game, because when you do a dungeon in a game, and then if you just do nothing but do farm dungeons, you start to see the person behind the curtain. You're like, oh, this is the same thing as the last thing, right? They're trying to make it, I'm assuming this is how the designers do it. They're like, oh yeah, they do this and they go do other things, then they'll kind of forget about this. But if you do these like main storyline, you're going to see the exact same beats, and it does. It'll get old.
So it wasn't until about a dozen hours in that I unlocked enough upgrades that the gameplay started to gel for me alongside the story. Starfield absolutely is one of those games that takes way too long to get to the good part. But the fact that it eventually did get its claws into me forced me to jettison all of the more like Starfield jokes I'd been workshopping out the airlock, and focus more on what this sci-fi epic gets right, or at least does well enough. Filed under does well enough is combat, which is the solution to most problems unless you're extremely dedicated to the idea of talking or sneaking your way past most encounters with hostile pirates, robots, wildlife, and anything that looks at you funny. It's not bad, and it's kept me happily plinking away with my tricked out laser rifles and shotguns, but it's not especially great either. Without anything new and exciting to fill the void left by Fallout's time-stopping bat system, it's pretty standard stuff. To their credit, enemies do react in fun ways, and sometimes they'll flee if you killed off their friends. Plus, the modifiers on epic and legendary weapons and gear have some fun stuff going on that's not afraid to be game-changing. I found a rifle that does more damage as my health decreases, and makes enemies more likely to drop medpacks. I found a spacesuit that has a 10% chance to set nearby attackers on fire, and made me invisible when I crouched and held still. That's kinda cool, and there's a lot more where that came from. The other side of combat is ship-to-ship battles, which are also fairly simple as space dogfighting games go. It's never not entertaining to blast away at pirates and watch the pretty explosions. There's some basic power management, but I rarely felt the need to fiddle with it in combat because most of the ships I bought or found had enough power to go around. The closest thing to VATS you get in
Right, Kylo? There's not enough storage. I got an upgrade, and it fixed it. Okay.
Starfield is when you spend a skill point on target locking, which is an absolute must-have. Disabling weapons is a great way to even the odds when you're being ganged up on. But even better is when you take out their engines and board them. Some of the best moments in my Starfield playthrough have happened during these raids, as I went room by room mopping up enemies until I gunned down the captain and sat in their chair to seize their ship and its cargo for myself. I'm definitely going full pirate next run through, so I can do this all the time. Another highlight of Starfield is the sheer variety of spaceships flying through the settled systems. And the fact that they're so modular and customizable made me want to dump more skill points into starship design, so that I can mess with it more and learn the somewhat complicated rules of how to snap the pieces together to form a space-worthy vessel. Oh yeah, and the lockpicking minigame deserves a shout out as one of the best I've seen in an RPG.
Hey, the lockpicking, when I asked the other day, I was like, how do you think the lockpicking is going to be?
Are there bugs? Of course there are. I've seen a fair amount of model and texture pop in, occasional crashes, performance slowdowns, mostly during autosaves, wonky waypoints, clipping issues, wrong camera angles during conversations, the works. I've played mostly on PC myself, but IGN's Xbox Series X players report occasional framerate dips, but nothing outrageous. I have to say, Starfield has been fairly stable for a big, open RPG like this. I never ran into a quest I couldn't finish on the first try, for instance, so its bugs haven't been bad. The results may vary, though. With a game this complex, they always do. It's It's never a great sign when somebody recommends a game on the grounds that it gets good after more than a dozen hours, but that's very much the kind of game Starfield is, and I do recommend it.
And to think, I almost went for coffee instead.
There are a lot of forces working against it, and the combination of its disjointed space travel, non-existent maps, aggravating inventory management, and slow rollout of essential abilities very nearly did it in. It was the joys of piloting a custom spaceship into and out of all sorts of morally ambiguous situations in a rich sci-fi universe that eventually pulled it out of a nosedive.
I might even let you fly me around sometime.
I'm glad that I powered through the early hours, because its interstellar mystery story pays off, and
I'm glad I powered through because they were paying me hourly.
Once the ball got rolling, combat on foot and in space gradually became good enough that its momentum carried me into New Game Plus after I'd finished the main story after around 60 hours. Like Skyrim and Fallout 4 before it, there's still an immense amount of quality role-playing quests and interesting NPCs out there waiting to be stumbled across, and the pull to seek it out is strong. For more on RPGs, check out our reviews of Baldur's Gate 3 and Sea of Stars.
I think his review, he said some good things. I think some of the stuff that he said was kind of ridiculous because you'd literally say that for any RPG, open world type of game. If I was like, so basically the same complaints people have for Skyrim. So my notes are, so it's Game of the Year. Yeah. I mean, obviously I'll be in the nominations for it, I would assume. I don't think it sucks because they gave it a 7. Then that's one person's opinion about him playing the game, right? It's okay that people give it a 7. I just think it's funny. The example I said earlier, right? When people were bitching about, right? When the casuals were bitching about Diablo, when they did something wrong and we were being critical of it, people's answer to it was, well, you haven't played an ARPG. That's not what an ARPG is, right? And then some of the criticisms that are saying for Starfield is the same. Like if you've played a Bethesda game, if you played Oblivion and Morrowind and Skyrim and Fallout 3 and Fallout 4, and they say the same thing, you're like, that's what a Bethesda RPG is. You see what I'm saying? I think it was a great and fair review. He went very in depth with the features he gave, and good idea if it's for you or not. Exactly. I think his review was fine. You might not agree with some of the stuff he said and with the score he gave, but I think the review was his thoughts on what he played, right? It wasn't someone else played the game and he was reviewing it like they do sometimes on IGN. Mr. Matty likes the game, but he isn't in love. He gave a lot of good criticism, being a huge Bethesda game fan. Good to watch. All right. How long is his? Oh, 23 minutes. ACG does a good job. I'd rather watch
Starfield
his.
is one of the buggiest space games I've ever seen. I mean, there are bugs everywhere. Just look at them. Everywhere you go.
I'd rather
some
watch
are massive bugs. Lots and lots of bugs. Starfield also has a ton of issues with religion and spacefaring humans on the brink of starvation, out on the edges of some far-flung solar system that should have just been called Nope for all the good in the future that it promised to give you. It's like everybody in the system said, I bet something bad happened over there. Let's go there. Space travel's dangerous, and making a ramshackle home on the edge of a crater seems like doubling down on red simply because it hasn't come up in a bit. Starfield also has a bunch of problems that you solve by flying around in your space mystery van. Space gangs, pirates, interstellar thieves, missing people, and heartless criminal space organizations bent on ruling the world like a futuristic cobra. Starfield from Bethesda comes out very soon. Subscribe because you know you want to join me. The game opens up, well, it opens up sort of poorly, to be honest. A starting that has you as a miner hanging out with other dusters in the center of a rock somewhere, picking apart other rocks, teaching you the basic systems until something goes wrong. This is easily the slowest and long-tail way that I've ever seen a Bethesda game open. If I said it makes sense,
I could tell he's playing on PC. You see the detail on the stuff?
Would that explain?
Look at the detail on the backpack and stuff.
Slowest and long tail way that I've ever seen a Bethesda game open. If I said it makes sense, would that explain it all? No, but that's all you're going to get due to spoilers. At first questionable and later answering questions, let's just say that Starfield's opening is more important than it lets on and less impactful than the game probably deserves. And with all Bethesda games, you deserve a good character creator, and you get one here, jumping in, choosing from backgrounds, most of which actually have narrative and many times gameplay impacts. Then you also align traits for your captain, picking a couple. So if you wanted to create a belter from the show The Expanse, you could choose Spaced, so your body is acclimatized for 0G, and Space Travel, as well as Wanted, which ups your damage when hurt, and also has you consistently followed by trailing mercenaries coming for your head. Now, skills are unlocked as you level up, and many are also tied to challenges, meaning to raise a level in something, you may need to take down a particular number of enemy ships or scan a particular number of planets. It's not great shakes, but it works well to keep you engaged in some pieces of content.
Nobody else told us that. Thanks, ACG.
So that you end up getting a new skill, and it also ties into the narrative there that the more you do, the more you know. Now, soon it has you blasting off, joining a small organization of other hunters seeking out mysterious signals in the known systems, flying around, taking out bad guys who were probably just there because of a Fiverr job where they were told to protect a mysterious out-of-the-way base. Major quests are given from the groups that you join as well as in the cities, main and small alike. Just depends on what you take on, what you explore, and...
I guess he's playing on Xbox because he's got that logo up on top there.
The random generation that you get. Most quests also have a couple different ways to finish them or complete them, sometimes entirely narratively or with theft or violence. Sweet, sweet violence. When you finally get that ship, you are off to the races. While a starter ship that isn't bad, it does let you jump from system to system, for instance, scan planets, solve mysteries, and further, you will want to end up finding another ship or just upgrading the one you have. Flying is as easy as searching out a star on a galaxy map and setting a path to it. If it's too far for your engines, you may have to star hop from one to the other. All stuff that we've seen in other space games. Planets, moons, stars, and then you can choose to scan them, finding out what minerals one or each of them may have, as well as deciding if you want to land either in designated spots or wherever else that there pretty much isn't water. But one of the biggest surprises here is that the combat is so worthwhile, you're probably going to want to experience it a lot, regardless of the weapon or the enemy.
Now, do you see the difference between one person saying the combat was so-so and then he's saying the combat is really good? I mean, we read the article that said the combat wasn't good.
Enemy type, and it's not perfect. There's still a bit of a stick up their butt kind of main character animation we get from Bethesda. It's actually quick and tactile. The first time you power through a bunch of pissy Guardian robots all bent on seeing if they can assimilate you by disassembling you first.
This is the reason that you should watch multiple reviews. Because if you watched one person, you would be like, ugh.
Is awesome. You can clamber up edges now, and it works very well, using different jump packs to get angles on enemies they don't expect, or watching them jet into the air above to do just the same to you. The combat feels very responsive, though it's not necessarily Doom Eternal. Every weapon and armor also has upgrade slots for mods, each one of them with their own name and their own requirements, meaning that you can make your own legendary drop, technically, if you want to ignore one of the ones you get. And the game does give you a lot of loot. It feels very good in its generation, but it lets you mold your own Merca Mayhem, regardless if you take the weapons that have already been created or randomly generated.
I think the guns look pretty cool, like the weapons and stuff, the way they look.
Created by the system, or ones that you mod and make yourself. Be aware, you can't command your AI party to pretty much do anything. They meander around well enough, though, shooting what they can and trying to get in deep when the enemies get thick. It works well for the most part, and even on the higher difficulty, they didn't die out like red shirts in a Star Trek episode. I really can't shout out the combat enough, especially in the confines of a space game, or even if you just go in with blades. It feels much better than something like No Man's Sky or others. Starfield shows it has discrete blocks of gameplay, which I'll talk about in a second. They didn't neglect this part, and it is for the game's benefit. Now, flying your ship is the same way. It's easy to use. There's systems within systems, choosing levels for your projectile lasers and other
I like ACG, how he does his reviews. He's just says it how it is.
Weapons against your shield, grab, jump ability, and engines, with each ship having its own power output depending on your reactor and the engine that you have installed, letting you balance in combat if you need with a button or a flick of the digital pad to choose which one. And when you dive in close, you can lock onto enemies to take out their engines, which lets you dock with them and board them. And it's always this dance to keep them alive and not dying.
Oh, wait, you could board ships? Skull and Bones, get on it.
but also not able to kill you as you sneak up onto them and then dock. Then you work your way through the ship, taking each enemy out shot at a time. You can also register that vehicle as your own, which costs a percentage of the total worth to clear its history and make sure that it's no longer, regretfully, stolen or lodged as that. And that's one of the ways that they keep the overall economy in some kind of balance. And speaking of balance, at some point, you're going to want to balance out your experience by building your own spaceship. It's time to build them space wagons. Big, small, fat, thin. You can do all of this. Shipbuilding is awesome. It's super.
That's pretty cool that you can go to any ship and steal it and then sell it off and register it.
Easy to upgrade parts that the shop may have. Otherwise, you can just jump in, build, tear apart, and slam together pieces like Lego, each having its own mass and possibly power draw. There are restrictions, and the game alerts you to them when it comes to, let's say, the landing bay not being connected to the cockpit. What's great here is almost anything you can imagine can be built, at least somewhat to scale. But the best part is there are just so many options for the same ship. Let me give you an example. You can jump in, grab the same ship, and just switch around parts, making it look nothing like it did before, which changes the interior, alters its makeup. It's fantastic. I spent hours in it easily just adding and subtracting and moving parts from just a single ship that I stole. Outposts are the same way. They're built somewhat the way that we've seen in past games like Fallout 4, with you throwing down outpost markers and then using resources to make power, storage, connections, buildings, and even cosmetic parts. And yes, you can merge the output of one base to the input of another base in a different system or in the same system, depending on the upgrades that you have.
Wait a minute. I gotta rewind that.
And even cosmetic parts. And yes, you can merge the output of one base to the input of another base in a different system or in the same system, depending on the upgrades that you have. Okay. It's not always intuitive, though, and sometimes thinking that you need to build something can end up requiring you to jump over there to verify that you have all of the requirements. Overall, I would have liked a easier to see and understand inventory system for that. Each can then be outfitted with a crew that you can hire, or even the main characters if you don't assign one to your ship. Because everyone you hire has their own bonuses and skills, it may make sense to throw someone you hire into the ship and instead take someone who's normally a main character in the story and put them on an outpost for a while. The mixing and matching is incredible here. Are there 1,000 planets? Yeah, probably. Can you go to most of them? Yeah. Can you set up bases on most of them? Yeah. Would you want to?
Wow! That's his disagreement squeak.
You see, some are generally useless for resource collection just because of what you may already have, a bland, textured, boring planet with very little to offer your space coffers. However, if you're a pirate, blasting away the goods, stealing the expensive, and running from the well-armed, then having your own base on an out-of-the-way place with less space traffic and outfitted with defensive weapons can be a perfect and actually usable plan, and is something that does feel different depending on where you put a base. A back in Mos Eisley set around or behind some red giant and hidden in the shadows can end up paying off tremendously depending on what kind of work you're taking on. Speaking of work, you can take on the main and the side quests. You can also join factions as well as just freeboot it. And most of them have their own bounty boards with random missions placed down all over the known systems. Sometimes hunt down a mercenary in an abandoned radar station. Other times asking you to risk arrest by sneaking in experimental medicines or alien life to a planet.
This is why I like ACG. ACG and Skill Up, to me, do some of the best reviews. Skill Up does a completely different type of side, but I like Skill Up. I respect his majority of his reviews. ACG, I love his reviews. He literally just telling you how it is, and he gives so much in depth. The other reviews that we read and that we watched haven't done that.
Planet that has a firm, no risks allowed, law-abiding citizenry. And as you join these groups, you may find ship parts that are specific to that faction available for you in unique shipyards. And a lot of this doesn't sound particularly unique. Space games can triumph in a number of ways, but the true requirement is just understanding its focus. Is it the frenzied pursuit of enemies? Is their ship's shield collapse like a rusted Faraday cage before they leave a zone? Or is it about the exploration, or about the combat, or the feeling of emotion a pilot can feel the first time they step on a mainline planet as a star rise slowly goes up above them, and realizing I'm the only inhabitant, the planet is basically mine, and a random star is now my sun. Where Starfield does well is that you don't need to know exhaust rates or non-Euclidean geometry. The game offers information over the top of gameplay, letting you sink.
Yeah, there's a thing, one of the traits. You have mercenaries come after you. Charge
into it in a deeper way if you want, or in many times and ways just ignore it. but I do wish it was a bit more seamless. For example, jumping into the inventory or figuring out how to drop things when you're trading with a partner instead of having to just leap out and then open that inventory again. It's also something that we've seen when it comes to the planet exploration and the big deal which comes in the term of restrictions. While it is actually vast, and no matter where you land, the game tries to put something interesting there, like broken down bases, strange wrecks, pirate battles, or otherwise, each of those created spots do have a specific size limit. If you get to the edge, you can jump into the ship and land a little bit farther off. It's almost like a loading screen. Does it bother me? No. Is it there? Yes. Lastly, let's talk about the quests and the writing. I was surprised to find that the main quest was actually interesting. Overall, for me, Bethesda games haven't really grabbed me with their story, but instead caused me to gravitate towards making my own path with the main plot as this bookend for my actions and experiences. The same is true here. However, I did find the mystery presented in Starfield worth exploring. Side missions and city missions, and even some of the randomly created ones worked well enough because of Bethesda's excellent set dressings and environmental world building that they put in here, and I'll discuss that in a second. However, one point, organizationally, I can say that Starfield is not as seamless as I would have liked. They give you the ability to fast travel to any location, including other star systems, without going to your ship if you've been there many times. And the idea is sound, but it does hold back a feeling of that cinema, the feeling of actually flying around in your spaceship. That is a quibble because you can choose to do so if you want to. But I think a lot of people will end up defaulting to that for a lot of their travel, especially back and forth to different places. And it's always awesome to see your ship take off and land. So it's a bit of a missed opportunity. But regardless of that opportunity lost, there's something unique going on in Starfield. For example, where the X Games series of games have their space monopolies, top-hatted space tycoons, balancing economies across stars, No Man's Sky has its massive seamless travel and exploratory playground of 64 crayon box-colored worlds. Starfield has Bethesda. Now, that may sound like circular logic, but despite some issues, you find yourself working through them exactly as you have in their past titles. To find one more battle, steal one more ship, or just explore a new system and mine it for resources. To find one more cave complex and go down into the bottom of it and see if maybe there's a survivor or perhaps some gold. Starfield's gameplay loop of fly, fight, and foundation building is solid, if a bit wonky to switch between. What is not wonky, though, is the presentation. Graphically, the game can look amazing. Cresting over the edge of some fertile planet and watching the sunrise is awesome. Gun battles, their effects, space, the trash collector around your ship, that's all incredible, as are a lot of the battles. And walking through thickly populated cities or some mysterious station you find hidden behind a mountain, your suspicion level peaking high as you slowly pick the door to get in. Well, occasionally you'll look at a planet and say, this really isn't for me. For the most part, they all look awesome. What is a little bit different are the characters. Let me describe this. There's basically 3 levels of character detail for the NPC. You have your main NPCs. These are the quest givers, main NPCs that you deal with in the game, and store owners. Then you have bandits, quests, and so forth, and basic NPCs. But then you also have the citizenry along the other parts of all of the cities, and sometimes just living inside of bases, and they are by far the worst looking many times. I mean, some look really terrible. But I think for a level of detail scale and how they did it, it makes
the same
sense
for everybody,
that way,
isn't it?
especially if
8
they want to
p.m.
keep performance high, which they did.
Which should be
now, what impresses me
1
that
a.m. for you.
carves out
And
this
aren't you
look and
over in Europe?
idea that they call NASA punk, and it's a thing. And regardless of the weapons or the armor, every single item in the game looks unique. Analog in a digital world, the sense of needing something to work versus needing something to look good. Whether it's some rare gun that pounds down enemies or some spoilery stuff later on. There is some phenomenal design here, and it's Bethesda's incredible environmental work that also shines. Even when at times the location isn't on the best looking planet, it's the habitats that almost always look incredible, lived in, dirty, seamy, like someone said, hey, let's build a lab on a moon, and someone else probably said, but they did it anyway. And then after eating the last raspberry, they all left, and that's what you end up finding. It's the lived in feel that Beth nailed. They also nailed the scary parts. I didn't expect to say this in a review. I didn't expect to see this in Starfield. But as you continue to explore and introduce to a number and a different manner of aliens, there are some downright creepy moments. This was surprising to me. Lights flickering in and out as you explore some research facility on the ass end of a backward planet trying to move forward through a quest. And it's incredibly tense. I noticed a couple mines that appeared a little bit samey after my hours of exploration. But it's nothing different than we haven't seen in a lot of other space games. One place where Starfield hit the mark was performance. Well above 60 at 4K native ultra on the 4090 with 80s and above depending on using FSR2 or not. And you run into a low detail texture more than once, but 1080 Ti's and up are going to see performance that's a good deal higher than I actually expected in this game. DLSS is missing so far, and cities can take a hit if you have the population setting up, but since it looks like a lot of inbreeding was going there with the citizenry, I would say you could probably turn that down and not really have a negative. Also, the game...
I like how you said basically the textures of the regular NPCs are just garbage. They're inbreeding.
Has an issue with hardware recording options. Something that seems to have been noticed during the trailers the game released. There was a little bit of a stutter in a lot of those trailers. In-game, with the current i7 and 4090, most importantly, the newest NVIDIA driver, by the way, which gained 5 to 10 FPS all by itself, it actually is very steady. The console is also incredibly steady, and perhaps we can hold out.
Oh, that's cool. You got a little, like eyeglass you stick up to do the hacking.
For a possible unlocked FPS setting in the future. While the game has a number of graphical settings on PC, I can tell you ambient occlusion, indirect lighting, and shadows can be turned down, set down from ultra to get some FPS back without really sacrificing any kind of polish. It can actually be quite difficult to even see that setting in the adjustment, but getting 3 to 4 FPS back is well worth it. One problem I did run into a number of times was going into places where the game's fog and lighting systems resulted in some seriously flat lighting and foggy looks to everything. Now, this is an artistic decision, and it's not unknown for Bethesda to have some color filtering going on. For example, we have a lot of mods that remove those. I support it as an artistic design, but it looks like a major city with 100% air hazard warning sometimes. It looks like a fine layer of emphysema is just rusted onto everything, like an apartment you rent from someone who smoked and the walls were painted white, but still have that dusky yellow look. I admit I fought with the proper lighting settings for quite a while to sort of try to get it right. You may even notice some of that in the footage. Now, when it comes to bugs for performance, I had a couple minor ones, a couple stuck NPCs, and that's it. The time creating it, the delays in releasing it, obviously smoothed over the experiences that we all...
Total time playing, 144 hours. Bug count, 8. 3 stuck NPCs, 1 stuck quest, and 4 companion glitches. That's impressive. That's impressive, and it's impressive because it's a Bethesda game. 144 hours, 8 bugs. That's impressive.
Remember from their prior titles. It's not absent of problems. It's just that the number in my playthrough was dramatically smaller than many other open world games, and certainly infinitesimally smaller than their prior games. Let's talk about the audio presentation, though. First up is music, and this is easily my favorite soundtrack of the year, bar none. At some points, 2001: A Space Odyssey. At other points, Skyrim, filtered through some kind of tilted future filter. And even more times, when the game's incredible understanding of the themes that made Star Wars so epic, it is absolutely a masterpiece. Almost dropping to silence, then a harp or xylophone comes in. It makes the soundtrack just feel iconic and classic. Especially true of the almost hypnotic silences, and then horns kick in and it fades back to a harp and strings playing behind it like the stars in the sky traveling behind a moon. The best soundtracks are additive, pieces that resonate with the player and the local.
I also like how he also blurs things out on his video, so he doesn't ruin anything for anybody else.
Locations, form-fitting like they're needed in the same way a helmet is in deep space. Honestly, that's a soundtrack here. Also, sound work. It's impressive. It just keeps getting better. It's a step up from anything Bethesda has done, especially the poor sound samples we've seen in some of their special edition versions of Skyrim. First, the actual final mix is well thought out and filters in effects depending on the environment, helmets, lack of atmosphere on a planet, and so forth. The dull thump of a gun on one moon turns into a damn slow-motion chainsaw on a desert planet. But it's the distant effects that deserve very high praise. Far-off blasts from enemies fighting it out in a deserted laboratory can be heard floating across the hilltops in a confusing array of low-end thumps. And then when you crest over the high-end spectrum starts up, the laser burning, the smaller calibers, and they mix in seamlessly back into the actual total frequency range, no longer getting absorbed. Phenomenal sound work. Also, when landing an engine, that whine of the thrusters as they get close to the ground is just captivating. I could listen to that on repeat. Or when you boost away from the planet, that bang on low thunder that then collapses and builds and collapses again, and then there's this sharp-edged crack as it starts to fly away. Awesome. When it comes to the voices, Listen, while the writing for many of the characters just didn't engage me, I can't say they weren't interesting in some way, but I did find the major party members to be a bit hit and miss, with a couple having unique backstories or mini missions I found interesting, and others turned out to just feel like portable carry bags, where I offloaded my stuff with a passing, "Oh yeah, thanks for carrying this." When it comes to their voice delivery work, it's fine, but it is something that you should sort of expect from...
Barry, we watched it just before this. Some of the stuff that he was talking about, it didn't really make sense. He had some good critiques, and then other ones were bad. And I don't know how the scale he picked. I mean, it's his opinion, so he gave it a 7. So I don't think that's a problem. I mean, the guy that played it, but he would say stuff like, storage is limited, and then there was an upgrade for storage, right? But he gave it a down because of storage was, limited. But then there was an upgrade for storage. So I don't know. It's kind of weird.
Bethesda. It's their kind of lines, their kind of delivery. Sometimes it's a little bit generic when it comes to the line because they want to fit so many different options that you may have for a quest or a specific moment that you have in a game. There's 1 or 2 characters I absolutely love, but unfortunately, there's no way I'm going to show them because they are very much spoilers. But there are some cool characters here. There's also a couple duds. But is the game a dud? Let's talk about fun factor. The most fascinating part, the most intriguing takeaway that I have from Starfield is that somehow Bethesda's made a space game interesting.
We watched 2, Titan. We watched the technical test about the frames per second, and then we watched the actual review that gave the score. The technical guy that was talking about what was happening in the game, it was a British guy, and he actually made some really good points. I thought it was a fair review of the technical aspects and what he played. The IGN reviewer that gave it a 7, he was kind of, hit and miss for me.
Continually. Despite constant upgrades, new locations, most space games begin to feel a bit like a form of digital drudgery, like somehow you're a bit of that fantastical character that you're playing, a miner getting tired of cutting up rocks.
I'm playing tonight, 10 o'clock, 10:15 probably. We have a podcast at 8 o'clock, and then we're going into to Starfield. We're going to make our character tonight. We already made the traits earlier today on stream here. I'm just going to input those for our character's traits. And then we're off.
It happens with a lot of games. Starfield held my attention, not just through the review period, but even now, and due in no small part to the customization. The idea that no matter what template of ship I buy, I can rip it apart in seconds and piece it back together pretty much any way I want. It's an astonishing way to make you feel like you are a ship captain. While each part is more disconnected than I would like, I find myself always wanting to explore, to fight it out, or go down one path in one of the huge cities, by the way, to see if I missed a quest, or just sit back and listen to some NPCs bitch about dates, or construct stuff, resource stuff, do all kinds of different research in your basement facility, which has you making pharmaceuticals, weapons mods, armor mods, researching new items and projects. It's a true sandbox experience, and it has its problems and its technical limits, but does the most with what it has and somehow offers an experience well above expectations. Let me explain this. 30 hours. That's how many hours I've been playing after beating it. And I'm a reviewer who usually has to move on to the next thing. Where Starfield shines is that despite those flaws, and it has some, they fade away, and it plays to its strengths, which are different than I actually expected. It turns every single hill into a climate discovery, every single abandoned lab into a place that I want to go to and see if there's somebody hiding inside there to either shoot, talk to, or trade with. And for that reason, I can genuinely say this game is absolutely worth buying. The odds of Starfield coming out over a decade of creation, many games in between, up against luminaries like No Man's Sky that released like a dim, far-off shine compared to what it is now, were sort of poor. The game is great. It's different than I think a lot of other games in these kind of titles are, which makes sense, as No Man's Sky isn't the same as Star Citizen, and that's not the same as Elite, which isn't the same as the X series. If you curated 5 works of art from 5 artists, all with the main subject of space, you might get a poem, a carving, a story, a painting, and a digital picture. The same can be said of space games. And despite all the talk and
pros, world building, music, good combat, building ships is excellent, pure replayability. Cons, AI, just okay. Few party members are memorable, and few real super cruise activities.
Despite the idea that this has taken so many years, I sit back and look at Starfield as it's on right now in the background and think to myself, I'm going to be playing this a long time. And there's something about Bethesda games, some magic that they're able to create, something that they're able to do that makes me want to continue to return to them despite any little issues I may have. And Starfield is absolutely that as well. Subscribe if you like the video. Peace out.
What does he have for the remainder of this review here? He's got 4 minutes of just yeah, he's got a little glitch there. I think his review was really good. He gave a lot of detail. So if you're a person that didn't know you're going in and you want to know more about the game, he gave a really in-depth of like the nooks and crannies of stuff they didn't do in other reviews or even talk about in the review. We've so far have watched 3 reviews and read 1. So again, all reviews are their own reviews. You take what you want, or like what you want, or don't like what you want. I like to give a big, broad stroke of stuff so you guys can make choices. So if you're on the fence about this, maybe you haven't bought it yet, looking at it, go watch, go read, go see people play, and make a choice for yourself if you want to play the game. I'm very excited. I'm very excited to see what we're doing. Tonight, 8 p.m. Eastern, we're playing, we're doing the podcast. Me and Sarge are going to be talking about Starfield. We're going to watch a bunch of stuff this afternoon. I'm going to look at some gameplay. I'm going to talk about a bunch of stuff, and then we'll talk about news stories as well. And then around 10:15 or so, we're going to go live, and we're going to make Jack Burton our character for Starfield. And then we're going to go, we're not playing any kind of missions or anything. I mean, obviously, we have to play the opening tutorial, but we're going to play and kind of just look around, see things, and experiment with some stuff. Because I don't want to spoil anything for anybody that wants to play themselves. So, appreciate it very much. I will be back tonight, 8 p.m. Eastern. Thank you very much for tuning in, hanging out with us. Thank you very much for the gifted memberships. We're well over 100 members of the channel now, and I do really appreciate you guys coming in every day, hanging out, and having a conversation like adults do. And we'll see you guys tonight, 8 p.m. Eastern. Make sure you hit that like button. Make sure you hit that subscribe button if you're not subscribed. And if you'd like to become a member, hit that membership for as little as $5. Appreciate it very much, and I'll see you guys tonight at 8 p.m. Eastern. Peace.